Hello, hello! It's the last day of Passion SMP! We are here! I see Lilac somewhere nearby. Let me zoom out. There we go. Lilac's hanging about. I need to sleep. Need to sleep. Let him sleep. There they are. Hello, Lilac. I'm gonna get in VC in a moment. Oh, they're reading the signs. Yeah. Let me turn down music just a wee bit. There we go. I think we are all good. I want to show around things that have happened and mention a few things as we get started into this because I have been recording the past week over streaming and I haven't had the time to be streaming because I needed to get stuff done before we actually got started. So I had one more thing left on my bucket list for the server, and it was all the advancements, and it was very annoying, but I did in fact do it. All of the advancements. Every last one of them. Well, we already had N done. Then there's all the husbandry stuff, that sucked. I have all the advancements finally. I'm here, I did it! I've been taking a bunch of stuff, but I made it. Hi, Cheesecake, welcome back. How are you? I got all the advancements done, and then one little thing I've been meaning to do for a while, and I can't wait to show off to the rest of the members, is some decor for this main hall. We have a little shark skeleton. I've been meaning to get this in here for months on end. And then this beautiful thing here. Lilac's also looking at it. And then there's also the same here, and the villagers in the back got moved over to these areas, and I finally... I'm not upset that this happened. Wavo died in like a creeper accident while I was moving him. He sucked anyway. I'm good, hospitalized from COVID. Oh shit. Yesterday, which was cringe bum recovering well. And then Lilac's like, oh Jesus. I'm gonna hop and call them in a moment, but I think... No, South was part of last episode, so South is also here. I did fix the mini game that was hidden away back here, so there's no more TNT minecarts. That all fixed and adjusted. Love the Sharky statues. Thank you. Appreciate it. And Piston Push was also finicky, so hopefully that's fixed. If not, I have the materials to delay it a little bit more, because it kind of needs a good delay. Oh, there's my leg. Oh. Love the rubber banding. It's fantastic. And then over here was the Starve minigame, which is... it's just a door arena at this point. We don't even care about the Starve part. And last time, it was just a hole in the glass that you had to fall through, and everybody fell through the same one. This time, I made sure to put in a bunch of trap doors. So it's like, oh, somebody go to this trap door, and then everybody flicks and falls down. Well, it looks very different. Missed a lot. Yeah. I've been scrambling to get all this done before today. And while I didn't get this area done, there just wasn't the time to do it. I'm still happy with all of this. I do wish I was able to do more and give it the attention it deserves, but I'm happy with what we got. And I wish Minecraft wasn't so bad about server render distance. I have a fix for that for Season 2. But server render distance sucks, so... yeah. It's very impressive. I could never do so much so fast. Yeah, it was long days. A lot of long days, unfortunately. And then I also forgot to fix Piston Push, so I was doing that this morning before we logged on. When is... oh, it's Bones. It's Bones. Okay, so let me hop in VC with Lilac. Hello. Oh, are they muted? There you go.
My mic was off. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
I saw you notice the shark statue. I've been meaning to get that there for months.
Yeah, no, it looks... Are you talking about
love
this
it.
one in here?
Yeah, the bones. I
Yes,
adore
it
the
is so
thing.
unique. It's amazing. I was staring at it. I was like, oh my gosh.
I
There is
collected a
no
couple
way.
stacks of actual bone blocks, but then I started using quartz to fill in some gaps. And I'm like, this could just be quartz, and it looks way better as
Yeah.
quartz anyway. I
It's
wanted to
shiny
feel
and
like it's a
clear.
museum.
Oh yeah, no, it's beautiful. This actually gives museum
And then
vibes.
the runes in the floor I've wanted for a long time. We never used the
It looks
table, and
so
the runes look
pretty.
better without the table too. Yeah. And last
Yeah.
minute, those frog lights were added. Thankfully, I got them. I finally got all the achievements. It sucked, but I got all of them, including the dogs and the cats. The dogs suck. It's horrible. In the areas I've explored, there's only a tiny little section. That was the Savannah Plateau, which you need for one of the Savannah dogs. And then there is a small wooded Badlands for the for that dog in the Badlands. They weren't spawning, and I gave up on waiting for them to spawn, so I ended up using a biome finder and had to go 16,000 blocks overworld, which was like 2,000 another, and 750 as well. So I had to go 2,000, almost 3,000 southwest, or southeast, and then 750 west. So if you're on the nether roof, if you go very far out directly west from spawn, you could find a random ass portal.
Oh gosh. So you went pretty far to complete all of the achievements. That's
I slowly
great, though.
dragged those dogs back. If there was a animal I struggled with to get, they got to come back. They're worth the effort. So
Yeah,
I currently have
cool.
Zanks and Wild Thing are the dogs' names, and they're chilling at my house right now. And the Jellycat, I chased around a desert to tame the stupid thing. Literally for 10 minutes. Slowly crouching after it. So yeah, they get a spot in my house too. Also, Mysteria's on. Lovely. They're over here.
Oh, let's go.
Collecting all these blocks would make my mind crumble to dust. Yeah, it's mind melting. And hopefully one by one people start getting on.
Actually, wait. I think I have a crap ton of food. Yes, I do. Give her some chicken. Chicken.
Gotta eat and do human being things. No, why now? It's alright, Cheesecake. We're gonna be on for roughly 2 hours, I believe. I might be on a little later than that, because I want to do one last world tour, but...
Yeah, that's valid. Yep, I did a little tour of my base, and I was like, oh, this is so sad. This is so sad. But I'm like, it's okay. Where there's change, there's growth. So that's the best way to look at it.
Hopefully this time I'm not an idiot and decide to go to a mountain specifically for the mountain, only to tear up the entire mountain.
Oh yeah, let's avoid that, okay?
Yeah. What I hate is there was such a better spot, because I slowly, like, terraformed my entire area. There's a beautiful wooded, there's a Tega Island, and I can see it on my map, and it would have been literally perfect for what I wanted, and it's way closer! I should have gone there. And it's only, like, it's not even 500 west of Penguins.
Dude, I think you showed me that spot.
There's not a voice thing. No. That's why we're switching servers, because Minehut you physically can't. Because of the way the Minehut servers are set up, it won't let you do voice chat, because voice chat requires its own servers.
Oh, see, that's silly.
Yeah. So Minehut physically won't let you, and Minehut does not host its own plugin for it either. So that's why we're moving to a different server host. I did find one that's fairly cheap that should work out really well.
Oh,
I'd been looking at... Oh,
wrong.
Hello!
There we go. Now I can hear people.
Hey.
Hello.
Sorry,
it's nice to meet you.
You too. Give me just a minute. I need to turn off a title card that I currently have.
There you go.
I kind of like scrambled to get everything sorted.
No worries, no worries.
So who else are we waiting for?
I
You have two
assume.
penguins.
Yeah, I've been calling Oops All Penguins Oops, kind of like Oops Penguins or Oops.
I'm just
Yeah,
so used to calling him Dead Dog.
the
So
last
hard.
the last event I did, the minigames thing, only both the penguins showed up, so it was very, very confusing. And my chat was joking that they had a fight to the death for who's the better penguin.
Who's the better penguin? Okay.
I know one of the penguins was interested in joining us,
Yeah.
and I haven't seen message of anybody else yet.
Oh,
That sucks.
it's the last day. Come on.
Well, technically speaking, you can kind of still access it because Minehut physically won't let you delete a server at all. But
Really?
it's the last day.
So
the last
do you
server I
have to,
owned, I
like-
still have it. I can go visit it right now.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool, though. Oh, goodness.
Although technically, I can make it the last day by just resetting the server. But
This is true, but that's up to you.
I'd rather just let it exist.
Right. You can visit it whenever.
Yeah. I need to find a good way to actually, like, upload the world somewhere. My first thought right now is just making it free on Ko-fi. Because that's the only thing I could really think of aside. My second thought is maybe I could host it on Tumblr and have the file up on Tumblr. I don't think other things... I'm trying to think of other things that would let you actually share a file that big.
I can show
Hello.
you how a server I used to be. Hey, I could show you how a server I used to be on did it.
Sure. 'Cause I'm just I want the server to be accessible to anybody who wants to just go
Like
grab the world and play on it.
Yeah.
I know bigger servers have like their own website where they host it, but we don't have that.
It wasn't that much bigger of a server. I don't think it was that much bigger.
Hmm.
Can I please move my browser over to my main monitor? But they did have like their own. They had their own website, but it was. I mean, this website's even still up. I mean, so they had their own website and also they had their own wiki. But I think that was like community set up.
Yeah.
So I really don't know.
That's fair. It is very weird looking back at my own face.
Want some chicken?
Just because I think it's funny, a little while ago, because I decided to bonk the warden with mace, I lost my boots for a little bit, so I just think it's funny to see my skin like this.
Your
Grippers out. You didn't have boots the last time you showed me the server. Put your grippers away.
Fun fact, my boots are actually named Grippers.
Oh no! I don't know if I love it or if I hate it. Might be a little bit of both.
I think a little bit of both. Honestly.
Yeah, right now, the mutation CIP identity is just a pink blob of a character. I don't know how to explain what this is. He just exists.
I cannot figure out why my stuff is all messed up.
I remembered like around like 12 earlier and was like, oh yeah, I have that today. So I was like, okay, well that just means I have to get on around 2. And then completely forgot about it until like 2:05.
Well, that's okay. At least you forgot about it and you weren't modding the wrong thing.
Oh yeah.
All morning.
Oh no.
I'm the latest time zone, so as you were texting about that, I wake up and see the messages and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, I need to get out of bed, but bed is so comfy.
That was me this morning. Oh my goodness.
Because it's currently 11 a.m. for me.
This morning. It's one for me, and I did not go to the gym this morning, and I think I'm going to make up for it by doing like a workout sesh at home, so at least I can like say that I did. But it was the not leave my house day. I walked the dog. Does that count?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that counts.
It's better than me. I maybe go outside to check on the cats.
Valid.
I have school starting soon, so I'm kind of having a sad Sunday.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
mine
Last
starts
day.
tomorrow as well, actually.
Yeah.
Mine started like 2 weeks ago, but
Ooh.
I have to go back tomorrow, and I don't want to.
Yeah, most of the schools around me are waiting another week. Some are starting tomorrow, because right now I think it's almost 100 where I'm at. No, it's only 80 today, but it was 100 yesterday.
Oh wow.
Oh, yuck.
That's normal. That's normal.
No.
where I
No,
live.
I am far West Coast. I am upper West Coast. That is not normal.
Oh, I'm far. I'm far.
That's supposed to be
East
90
Coast,
today.
like, really deep south.
I live in
Mm.
the south.
Yeah.
I can go down to
Midwest.
any street and just see the mountain in the distance, so... It's not normal for me.
Have mountains.
Yeah.
I
Oregon,
live
baby.
on a plateau.
Mountains.
Well, it's now a plateau. It used to be a swamp, but yeah. My entire state
Y'all's
was a swamp.
sharks are just absolutely slaying me.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
hold
wait,
on.
no,
Do I have
that's-
a... You can take Nikki number 17. Hold on.
I just passed
Nikki number
them all.
17.
I have
Yeah.
broken quite a few, unfortunately.
Speaking
In
of which,
varyingly stupid ways.
Oh goodness. I forgot to turn on my thingamajigs, and I need to do that.
I love how I have no
packs.
armor, but I have a totem of undying and an elytra.
As one does, really.
Yep.
I have
Also,
both
hopefully
things.
all the games are fine. I will outright say one of them fully blew up on me. Because I didn't
no.
consider if you shoot a minecart TNT. Also,
Oh.
if you put minecart TNTs on powered rails, it triggers them. So that game no longer has minecart TNTs.
Oops.
Oh, no.
In my defense, my redstone knowledge is older than the colors being added to this game, so...
That is fair.
And that's not even a joke.
The way you figured out the floor is lava thing is... it's very ingenuitive.
I just took the trial chambers and then blew it up to a larger scale. Literally how Floor's Lava is set up is there's a dispenser with wind charges, and then it faces up to a bunch of buttons underneath dispensers. So it triggers all the dispensers by pushing a button, technically.
I might need
Are
to
we playing that
restart my
today?
game.
Yes.
Also, hi, Wolfie.
Okay.
I forgot to download the Polytone thing for the Fulbright, which now I understand why it didn't work.
Yep.
Considering I was trying to put it on the wrong game.
Oh, I just use gamma utils.
I'm so smart all the time.
I just
So
use
smart.
gamma.
Fair enough.
Because then I can also quickly just drop it as low as I want it to.
Oop, nope.
I like Fulbright because then the interior of that building doesn't look nearly as shitty.
Gamma does the same
Turn on
thing.
my-
Well, it'll
Yeah.
take me like 2 seconds to pop it in the folder. And
Yeah.
then it'll actually work this time.
Did you just remove the table and put a giant fish?
Yeah, it's a shark bone.
Polytone. Play.
Yeesh.
There's also the floor, but yeah.
Yeah, I heard them. I just figured it. I just thought it was so funny when I ask and you're just like dead silent.
No narrator.
Locke and Zajot are over here. Wavo died in a creeper accident, unfortunately, but he sucked anyway. He didn't give me my glass trades.
Yeah.
I
Screw him.
raised him from a baby zombie villager. How dare he?
How rude.
Oh, stream crash. That's that. Yeah, lovely.
Oh no.
I'll deal with that in editing. Thank you, Cheesecake.
Oh yeah, you are live, aren't you?
Yep.
I need
I'm
another
tempted to go
cup of
live,
coffee.
but I gotta get my stream.
Oh,
key,
coffee
actually.
sounds like such a good idea right now.
I already have
I'd
my coffee.
recommend it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if my internet
Okay,
can
I
handle
should
me
be good.
streaming.
My favorite thing to do right now,
Uh-huh.
set up a cold brew, but I'm lazy about the beans and I don't want to deal with cleaning out the mesh filter every time. So I take a normal, like, coffee pot filter, pour the beans in, and then fold it up like a dumpling and tie it with twine, and then yeet that in a jar.
If it works,
It works.
Yeah.
exactly.
And then I don't deal with it until I have to make another batch. Then I yeet that in the trash can and do it again.
I have a reusable for mine, like a reusable coffee filter. Basically, it's just like
Ooh.
a mesh basket that I can scoop out.
Yeah, I need to get like a cheesecloth bag or something. I know they make tiny ones. I
don't
just
have
need to
that.
actually buy some.
But I
I'll
also don't have
them.
like a fancy press or
Ooh.
anything. It's just a basic coffee pot because I'm a lazy bitch.
I bought
I use that at
this
home,
is a
so I got
giant
an espresso
mason
machine
jar.
again.
Ooh, nummy. I just have a giant mason jar. This is about a liter or so, something like that. I know it's like 8 cups, something like that. It's a decent sized mason jar, and then they just made a pitcher attachment that screws on top, and it has a large mesh filter, so I could even do tea in it if I wanted, or infusions.
I drank matcha from Starbucks.
Fair enough.
Oh.
I love my coffees. There's a very specific coffee I get that I absolutely adore, and I'm lucky enough that I found it on Amazon and found out they also have a dark roast and decaf. Cafe du Monde. It's super good stuff, absolutely delicious. Nice earthy flavor.
I absolutely love coffee and stuff. I just don't have time to make it and don't have a pot to do so.
Fair.
That's
I got
valid.
lucky. My step grandma, I absolutely adore her. She got a really freaking good like electric kettle. I was like, oh, we have to get one for you. I'm like, happily, yes, please. And it heats stuff up in like a minute.
It's gotta be nice. That's quick. Are we waiting for anyone else? Possibly, maybe.
Is this my toggle button? Did I just
You were
walk
still
into the
speaking,
toggle
so
button?
no.
Yes. No. Wait. No.
No,
Yeah,
you're
no,
still
it
talking.
should
I could
be.
hear you.
Well, no. It should be. You should hear me.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, you're talking push or talk, not
Yep.
toggle and mute. Got it.
Yep. I was trying to do that so I could switch between like stream talking and not like talk over people in the call,
Oh wait,
but I
I
couldn't
don't
figure
even.
out which one it was. But I think I got it. We're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Do y'all know how to get OBS to capture Discord audio?
I had to use something separate. Unico, what am I using for the stream to capture the Discord stuff?
Do you use a separate like what's the word I want?
I could use a separate source probably. That is
I think it's like a-
that is very much.
Are you
possible.
using separate audio sources or just your desktop source? Because if it's desktop, it should pick it up.
I have separate sources for each because I had my desktop like turned off so that if I
Yeah.
stream music on my browser, it'll remove that in the VOD.
Yep.
Wait, what is it picking up?
I got cheesesteak, get Eddie.
Wait,
I
can
will
hear
drink
my
water.
fan? Can y'all hear my fan?
No.
If I can, I can't hear it over the
Nope.
ambiance that I have, so.
I can't hear it at all. Granted, I also have 2 fans running.
I don't have any fans running, so I can't hear it. So you should be good.
Okay, well now it's picking up something, but I don't know what it is. That's the thing.
Mm.
I haven't messed with OBS in like forever, so I have no idea what I'm doing.
It must just be maybe some slight static. You could
That's a
probably just
possibility.
record
Sometimes-
like a little section.
Oh, it's OBS,
and
not
then
Discord.
Listen to
I
it.
mean,
and see if you can
I
hear
have
it.
my stream up. Have I sent y'all my stream, my Twitch?
I haven't gotten it.
Let me pull it up. I think I'm following you.
I just realized something. I just realized my tail bobs up and down when I walk, and I'm in love.
Oh, I see that.
Look
Wait.
at it, it's so cute!
Wait, what? What tail?
Oh.
I have a tail on the back of my skin, and because it's on a separate layer, it's given it the 3D effect, and it just fucking pops up and down.
Oh.
Am I missing a mod or something? I don't see it.
I think I'm missing that mod too.
It's
okay.
brush
What, is it
animations,
essential?
probably.
Are you using
and
essential?
the
Is that
3D
why?
skins.
3D skins
no.
and what?
It's the 3D skins and then the fresh animations.
Oh, it's
I
probably the fresh
the
animations.
The better animations.
yeah, I don't have better animations or 3D skins, so I'm missing two
Gotcha.
things.
Yeah, I've got all of
Yeah.
those on currently. And then I
Also, by the way,
put,
penguins, you are not currently live.
It said I'm live. Why do I have a stream chat then? Oh, I see the button now.
You always have
yeah,
stream
I'm
chat up if you have the chat widget enabled.
I click the button. That's
Oh.
me.
I'll do it.
I didn't click the button.
Whoops.
Yeah, there we go. And now it says I'm live.
I should probably
I
keep
am
my wings
so
on. I'm gonna
loud. I gotta
forget that I
turn
don't have
myself
them on eventually.
It is picking up something. I don't know what it is. Oh, I forgot I added. I am so loud. I got to turn myself down.
Yeah, it is picking up your fan on stream.
No.
Is it really? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The
I
best
deafened for a
way
second
to
and looked at
change
it.
That. Here, hold on. I found like a great way to use those filters inside of OBS. So if you go into filters, a noise suppressor, a compressor, and like maybe a noise gate might help it, but you can
Yeah.
try the noise
Filters?
suppressor first.
What is filters? Dude, I have not used OBS. Where do I do filters?
Oh,
If you look on your
like,
audio mixer under
right.
your mic, the three little dots,
Mm.
and then you can
Yeah,
see
I had to learn
filters
how to
and
use
add
filters
them.
as well.
Yeah, the filters.
I either
were
learned
rough,
from a
honestly.
TikTok or a YouTube video.
Yep, that's exactly what I did.
I'm pretty sure I learned from another 2 streamers.
Mine will even like still pick up random noises every once in a while, even though I have all the filters on.
That's
Just
okay.
kinda
I'm muted for a
happens.
second. That's crazy, Cheesecake Daddy. But yes, I did do the posture check.
I can still hear it.
Also, love the coffee in a gummy bear cup.
It's under my
I
desk.
want to get some. We have like mason jar cups that have like the little handle, but we don't actually have any lids for them. I need to get
I need to
straw
fix
lids for
it.
those. Yeah, voice. I need to get straw
Just
lids for
goes
those.
under the desk.
Did it work?
No, that's not fan.
Oh.
Sort of feedback. Where is that coming from?
If the noise suppressor isn't doing enough, you could try the compressor. And that I don't know, it's kind of complicated to explain it. You just kind of have to mess with the settings to make it work the best for your microphone, but usually
Yeah.
if you just put it on, it should do at least something.
I just don't know what to set it as. Like, I have the filters, I just don't.
If you want, I can take a screenshot of what my compressor looks like, and then you can try
Please.
that. But I don't
Yes,
know
please.
if it's gonna work. Amazing. Okay, I got you.
I don't even know if my stream's like actually running. Because I know I have like shish internet.
Let me reopen it again.
By the way, I heard y'all saying earlier that there were 2 penguins, so that leads me to what am I calling everybody?
Yeah.
I know. Oops. I know Oops just said call him Oops. Like Oops all
Yeah.
penguins. He just said call him Oops, and then I just go by Penguin.
And then I just
Okay.
go
Or
by Lila.
like if you get
Okay.
like a nickname, like if I do something and you just come up with a nickname, I don't care. Use it.
Okay.
I forgot there's
Noted.
a collaboration feature on Twitch.
Oh god, yeah, I haven't even gotten to experience that yet.
Oop. Knock knock.
I sent you
Bro,
that
this is like the first
screenshot,
time
by
I'm
the way.
streaming in like a year.
Knock knock.
This is like the first
Something
time I'm
went wrong.
streaming in a
Try
year.
again. I want
Oh,
to stream
love
with
that
multiple
pulled it up in
people.
my
Oh wait,
Streamlabs.
I could. I forgot I could always just do an @ in the title as well. So I know that's a thing.
Oh yeah. I'm not
An
streaming.
at
I'm probably just gonna make a video out of it.
I'm tempted to just do that because I have
So someone
What is it?
referred to you as Mew earlier, or is it Moo?
Mew.
It's Mew. Yeah.
Mew like the
Yeah.
Pokemon?
It stems from Mutation CIP, the full thing. But I do
know.
make a joke out of it. My second account on here and my VOD channel, or my second channel as well, are also named Mewtwo.
That's fantastic. I get a lot of nicknames out of the initials BB.
What do you want us to call you then?
You can call me Misty. Usually, for all of my previous like Minecraft stuff, I've just kind of been Misty forever. And even though my character name and stuff changed, my handle really never has. It's been Mysteria Wolf for like a long time.
Okay. Sounds good.
I also have to figure out how to get rid of that overlay thing. I've had that for like ever, and I want to remove it and change it.
Overlay, it's
I have
usually
so
like
much stuff I gotta figure out.
the
speaking
overlay
of,
being sources is my guess.
Yeah.
how do I turn off
Probably.
the tooltips and stuff so that it stops telling me to break a tree?
Oh,
You just go punch a tree. Fully just go punch a tree.
Oh, I don't have
Just
to
go
break it,
punch one.
right?
Yeah, I can
You will have
absolutely
to
do
break
that.
it.
Oh no.
And I'll make
Oh,
sure to
what's
do the same when I
for the
post the
whole
video
tree
as
down?
well.
Don't you guys have like a tree chopper mod?
No, if you
Mm-mm.
use
Yes.
This is the vanilla one.
No, we do have one.
Wait.
It only
Oh,
works
I
if you have
really
an
don't know
axe,
what
though.
tree- Oh, okay, just kidding.
Yeah, you
Come
just
here,
use your
block.
fist. Penguin, I just sent you the rest of my stuff.
And then you
that I
can place it back,
use.
yeah.
So the top one is the compressor, and then the other ones say what they are. I use a 3-band equalizer and then a noise gate as well.
Yeah, I have those. I have those on there as well. Just
Oh my god, it makes
Okay.
my fluff wiggle too. Because my chest fluff is like its own layer as well, so I'm just bouncy everywhere.
The ads. Yes, the ads do work. Okay, wonderful. What do you mean something went wrong? There we go. Yes, there we go. It does in fact work. Cool, cool, cool.
I feel like I need a shark. I'll be right back.
I thought it was a friend.
Alright.
I'll go grab one so quick. While y'all are messing with your settings and stuff.
Oh,
I have already
Wow,
forgotten
Twitch.
to push to talk at least twice.
Stream Together only supports Chrome and Firefox for now. Okay. No wonder I
Is this
can't.
on
I use
Chrome?
Opera. It will not let me do that.
Yeah, I'm also an Opera.
I was using Opera. I really liked a lot of the features that it had, but I ended up having to move off of it because a lot of the plugins that I rely on do not work, even though they're supposed to.
That's just an iffy thing, but yeah.
No worries, Cheesecake. Have a good stream, or have a good night. Have a good nap.
Yeah, I don't think
Awesome stream, awesome builds, awesome people. Yeah.
like 2,000.
And we'll be doing season 2 next week.
Streaming. I still don't know how to do. I don't. Oh, I don't. Do I? Where's my browser? There's my browser.
The little tippy taps of me on top of the glass is just so satisfying because I have my presence footsteps, so I just hear tonk 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 tonk, and then I can hear your little boat scraping across the glass top.
I'm waiting for my stream
Nope.
to catch up.
No.
The only thing
I
that
completely
is fine
forgot.
for this version.
You mentioned, like, oh, Mew because of Pokemon. My pickaxe is currently named Pikachu.
That's great.
I also do have not one, but, hold on, I need to grab it. 2 netherite hose. The first one is named Worth It, and the other one's named Adopted. Because I found it
Adopted?
perfect. It was perfectly enchanted in a... It was perfectly ready enchanted. It had Mending, Unbreaking, and Fortune 3. And Efficiency, perfect efficiency in an ancient city. So I just adopted it and slapped a netherite ingot on it.
It's the stepchild.
Yep.
That is horrid stream delay.
Yeah. I've yet to figure out how to fix mine.
I think mine's fully because my internet sucks that bad.
Yeah, I need to either get a Wi-Fi extender or properly set up an Ethernet cable.
I'm using an Ethernet cable.
Oh.
Oh, I am definitely just gonna be like showing up in other people's streams. I'm not streaming like ever. Oh god,
Fair
I need
enough.
to get better internet.
I get scared
I'm just gonna-
streaming. Not gonna lie.
I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna make videos. Cool.
What is
That-
it
that works.
What is it that scares you about it?
It's like
Huh?
Talking about the noise
Oh.
specifically? Because, like, mine makes a little noise when I get a new message.
Yeah.
Oh, ow.
Did you break that glass by hand, or...?
By hand, but somehow I got. Oh wait, you broke one.
Yeah, I broke
didn't
one.
mean
Okay.
to. I was just breaking the
You good.
string above it.
We have a super smelter, so I just have to grab a piece of sand from a nearby bank.
I hate that I can barely tell where
Okay.
that hole is. That's terrifying.
I know.
Apparently, that's weird. I didn't know you could do that.
I just got a piece of string. Did I take a piece of string from you?
There was
Yeah,
pieces of
just-
string on the glass.
Yeah, I was just breaking the string. I don't know how I broke the glass.
You're so overpowered. You looked at it and it shattered.
Yeah, just a slip of the finger. Whoops.
Also, I love that y'all's elytra is pink.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's our cape.
Yeah.
Oh! What the hell?
It's
That's
the
so
cherry blossom
cute!
cape.
I don't even
Mine's
remember
pancake.
when I got it. It just was there.
I don't even. I don't even remember how I got it from, or like what I got it from.
There it is.
Neither do I.
Can you place
I
the
think it's
string
from
here?
when they-
Thank you.
What string?
I think it's
It's already
from when
there.
they
There you
added cherry biomes. And if you
Mm.
logged
Yeah, but I
in-
don't remember. But I don't think it was like you had to log in. I think it was like something else, but I don't remember what it was.
I don't either.
I could easily just go look it up.
Probably.
I know you got the pancake cape from something, I just don't remember what. It just kind of exists.
Well, pink is
Yeah,
my
I got
favorite
that
color.
one too.
I got really excited when they added the cherry blossoms.
You must
Oh,
have
yeah, definitely.
participated in the Minecraft mob vote in 2023 by voting on the website, the launcher, or joining the 2023 mob vote event server. That's how.
Hmm.
Oh, I think, yeah, I voted for the mob, or...
I did too. I did it in the launcher.
Was it the
Hmm.
mushroom one? Or, like, the
No, that was the
moonflowers?
that was the sniffer armadillo, or not the armadillo, the armadillo penguin and crab. That's what it was.
Hmm.
I voted for the
Oh,
penguin.
yeah. I wanted a penguin
obvious-
so bad.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
but
I think I was between
Armadillo.
penguin and crab, just because of the far reach that the crab could give. Or the crab
only
claw.
reason the armadillo won was because someone found a way to spam votes in the Discord server that they were
Oh.
hosting the vote in. So
Although,
the
to be fair,
armadillo had, like,
because of
2
armadillos, we
million
now
votes for
have
it.
XP farms from them. Because of the infested
Yeah,
potions.
true. Yeah,
This is true.
But we could have also did that with the LAs as well.
Hmm. Fair enough.
Because there's 2 versions of it. There's one with the armadillo and there's ones with delays. So
Ah, I didn't know about that one. All right, I think it's a half
It's
hour
just- it's
in.
basically the same.
We want to get started.
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
All right, everybody, welcome to the last day. We go and play some mini games. Do we want to do quick introductions? Icebreaker question.
Yes.
Favorite block,
Sure.
because I can't think of anything else. I am Mutation CIP, aka Mew. I'm the owner of the server. He, they works just fine. Honestly, I have to say, the stripped Junglewood has become my favorite. Absolutely, you can see it way too much in these builds. It's a nice beige color.
It's a very pretty block. Should I go next?
Sure.
Are we just
Okay.
going like clockwise or no counterclockwise?
Oh, we could go clockwise. So Mysteria.
Aw, just put me on the spot then. Okay. Mysteria Wolf, I go by Misty most of the time. She, they. No, I'm a she. I'm a she, her. I don't know why I said they. I guess they if you want, but and my favorite block, probably, as much as I love the cherry blossom stuff and the spruce logs, I feel like my favorite block probably has to be the stone bricks because it's like the foundation for most of my builds.
Valid. I like stone too.
Valid. Okay, so I'm Penguin. I go by she, her, and I'm not doing my voice. It's too late in the day. I'm
No worries.
My favorite block would probably be like the red mushroom cat block.
Ooh,
Yes.
That's a really unique one.
Yes.
I remember loving
have
it
a
for
weird
wallpapers, but I
affliction
don't get to
building
use it enough.
mushrooms. I weirdly have an affliction with like building mushrooms.
Mm.
So like if I can, I probably will build them like an entirely mushroom forest.
I totally could have
Ooh.
guessed based on the skin alone. Is that like leaves in your hair? 'Cause it's
Oh no,
a Taurus gremlin.
Oh, there is a little mushroom.
it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, even that.
Yep. Says it all.
So I actually ripped the clothes off of another Minecraft skin, or someone else's
Fair.
Minecraft skin, and like essentially just chopped off their head and pasted mine
Oh
on.
my god!
Fair enough.
Sometimes that's the way to go.
I mean, I downloaded the skin file, opened it in Krita because I do drawings, and literally just erased their head and pasted mine and layered mine on top.
Whatever works.
Right.
Yeah.
It worked.
Okay. I'm Lilac. You can call me Lilac or she, her. And my favorite block, I've been really liking oxidized copper. I don't know, something about that greenish teal is just so pretty.
It works so well for a lot of different
Would get
things.
along.
Yes.
She's obsessed with the copper, and I think she's nuts. No offense, but
You gotta find a good way to use them.
Sorry?
The elf hairs on your skin.
Oh, thank
It's so
you,
cute.
thank you. Yeah, my character's a little elf. I kind of forget that part sometimes,
Oh.
so it's okay. You didn't even know that, did you?
Nope. To be fair, in your profile art, you can't even see the elf ears. Your hair usually covers them.
Yeah, that's
He's
okay.
just a little purple
That's
blob. He
probably why
doesn't have
she
much
keeps
attention to
forgetting.
detail.
Yeah. The best thing I can do is just tell you he's a mushroom creature thing. That's the best I got. It never comes across.
Yeah.
I've tried so many times, the mushroom never gets across, ever.
I don't know. Giant pink blob doesn't.
Yeah. There are pink mushrooms, though. I've looked through this.
There isn't. It's just
yeah.
hilarious.
I tried pink oyster. My next best guess is maybe doing a pink parachute mushroom. They have like the perfect hue that matches Mew, but I'm working on it. I will have a new skin for next season.
nice.
I might just stick with this one for now. I had an old skin. I don't have a central one, so I can't switch it. But I had an old skin that was like all leak. So for like an old server I used to be on, which was Hermitcraft, which is like a runoff of Hermitcraft. It's like a switcher mix or whatever. I had like demon lore for it, so
Ooh.
I built like I didn't build anything. I joined really late into it, but I wanted to do like a bunch of like lore behind my skin, like with corruption and like a demon. It was gonna be amazing, but all the people who wanted to be a part of it fell out, and it was late in the season, so I was just like, I'll do it next season. But next season just kind of went up in flames.
I pull up my Minecraft launcher, you can see the slow progression of Mew across the years, because he's been a pink blob for, I think, a year or two now.
That's great.
And I finally found a way to make pants look good on him, because for the longest time he just wore a shirt or something along the lines of that, or he was just like a pink creature.
You should give him like a little bowler hat.
I've tried giving him hats. It just a lot of clothes just don't work for his character. I've tried. I have a design I finally like for him, but it's gonna take a minute. And I'm very excited for when it's gonna happen. I'm mostly keeping that under wraps because I want it to be fun. Alright. There's quite a few mini games. That entire west side is a hide and seek area. Over north, there are technically three. Mini golf isn't super fun content, but if you guys want to play that later. There's also piston push, and the floor is lava, my baby. And then behind us is mine shoot, which is just a minecart shooter, kind of like Hypixel. And then a door maze. It's called Starve. I'm gonna rename it back to its original design process, Mordor.
Okay. What do we want to start with first?
Should we start with the favorite of his, or do we save that one for last?
I say we save it for last.
Yeah, Floor and Lava is a hell of a fun time. And I am very happy with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring back my little trick.
Oh.
I got both of y'all like twice.
Yeah, I did. For that one, you need to have a controller who actually controls the lava. So we'll switch about who's actually controlling it.
Oh, okay.
Also, don't worry about losing your stuff if you have stuff. There are lockers everywhere. If the game may cause you to die, there is a locker.
Perfect.
Yep. Maybe we'll start with the... Maybe we start with the chaotic hide and seek, because me and Lilac threw each other for a loop one time doing
that. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun.
I ran circles around the area we were using and somehow got away. And it's still my favorite clip of mine.
It's because I just can't see. I'm just, yeah. It's alright though.
Blind little bat.
Yeah, I'm just a little blind bat. It's fine. Okay.
I take
who's
off
gonna
my
be
glasses
hider?
at work, like,
Who's gonna be hiders? Who's gonna be seekers?
Good question.
I don't know the map at all, so I don't want to be a seeker.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I could be a seeker, and then you guys can run rampant.
Okay.
I was gonna say the two people
let's
who know
let
the
me
map
like
most.
show this off real quick. Do we want to make this a small area that we're doing it in, or we want to expand it up to the general vicinity? Because we could just have it be this entire vicinity, but you can't go indoors. Or we could do a small area and you are able to go indoors.
I was thinking maybe like this little area, like this little district over here.
Where are you?
Like this little district we're all in.
Yeah, we could do that. Do we want to connect up the mines, or just do these couple buildings right here? Because there are these buildings back here. Okay.
I have a troubleshooting question.
Yes.
I'm having, I guess, some issues to where it's lagging out the voice call a little bit, and I'm wondering what I can do in Minecraft to make that not quite so bad.
Less shaders. Turn down graphics.
Turn off my shaders.
Yeah, shaders would definitely be a cause.
Yeah, I got my shaders off just because it gets a little bit laggy.
Actually, I
Yeah.
don't even know I'm not even sure if I have the shaders on this one.
Oh.
Because there's no like edit shaders function or anything like that.
Turn down graphics.
It might be hiding
Turn
under
down
my
leaves.
freaking
Do that first and foremost.
I did.
What is your computer specs?
Well, my graphics card is great. My CPU is hot garbage.
That's probably it.
I really need to
Yeah.
turn off the freaking thing because now it wants me to craft a wooded plank, and it won't. I bet my shaders are behind that if I have them. Full screen might also help.
I gotta think. I don't remember how to shut off toasts.
I can also just turn my graphics down, probably.
Probably. I mean, what is your render distance at?
Let me see. I turned it down to 6 render and 8 simulations.
Ooh, I don't know, because, I mean, I know what I was able to run, but that's just, I don't know.
I don't know. It might be something that I just have to deal with. I haven't heard any complaints from my viewers in the chat right now, so it might just be a me thing.
Yeah.
I lost connection!
Uh-oh.
Oh, yep.
Also, no, I don't think I do have any shaders. Now that the freaking tooltips and stuff are out of my way. Oh, bug on a stick. I have a slight idea.
Are you using a mod pack? If so, try adding sodium.
I was using the one that Moon
Yeah.
gave me, which wasn't
It does have sodium. Yeah.
Try adding sodium extra, because then you can see your frame times. What is your stream? Check it.
Mine?
What's in your profile? I'm just doing that.
No, you're good. Which I just turned off a resource pack that might be impacting things a little bit.
Oh no. I think I trapped myself.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh well.
Oh, I thought I accepted that collaboration already.
Yeah,
Did it not because I accepted it in
I opened up
Streamlabs?
your chat, but it's like, oh, you can do this thing. I'm like, maybe it will let it happen, but no, I don't use Chrome or Firefox, so it's like, haha, you can't.
Even with turning down my settings and like being in the menu, Discord is still doing the thing. So I'm wondering if it's just Discord.
Oh wait. I'm good.
Maybe.
Yeah. Let me restart Discord real quick.
Okay. Wee woo. Chaos.
But we'll just do like the B&B and like from these houses.
Yeah, cut off at the corner of this building.
Yeah, I was thinking like
Yeah.
from the B&B up to like the one with the 3 smokestacks.
Oh, okay. A lot of them have 3 smokestacks, admittedly, but
Yeah.
just like that big like square area. You see, do y'all have free cam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you float straight up, you see like the little square I'm talking about. It kind of makes like a square.
I forgot there's a minigame over here. I forgot I made this one. There's a minigame here too, by the way. Yes, I forgot. This is actually a minigame yeah, I completely forgot I made this one. This was a last minute addition. It's just a King of the Pit. There's a little safe spot in the center. It's just King of the Pit. Whoever is the last to live survives. Or last to survive is the winner.
Oh, I got it.
Completely forgot that one exists.
So are you talking about this whole square space, or are we talking about even like the buildings back here with warped planks? Or Does all
warped,
of them have
warped,
warp?
warped. No, no. I was
The
thinking like
mine area.
like so like the green area, but like not past like the warped, or like not into the
Okay.
warped. Like where the is that? Oh, it is.
So where I'm standing
where
cut
the
off about
railroad-
here.
Where are you at?
Yeah,
You're right there?
yeah, like cut off right there from B&B. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I was kind of thinking like.
We
Wait,
could
where am
include
I?
this sector.
So I can get a
This
reference.
entire space is made for hide and seek, so we could always switch between which area we want to use.
I mean,
Very
I was
true. I
thinking like this,
haven't used any of this spot yet, so
Yeah.
I'm new
I
to
was
this area
Hey,
like
as
this little,
well.
like,
Can you
Oh,
guys-
there I go.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
So I think it might be my speakers actually,
Oh,
Oh no.
which means I am going to, or not my speakers, my headset. So I'm going to have things through my speakers, which might
Oh.
be a little complicated.
Oh.
I do have sound filters, but it still picks up other people in the call.
Oh no.
oh. Oh wait, Lilac.
Mm.
You want to see something that I added, and I made sure I added?
Here, hold
Oh.
on. I'm on my way. Where'd you go? There you are.
I'm down here.
Miss Tira, can you click F3 once you're in game?
Oh.
Okay, ooh, okay. So that's that.
Oh. This is a good spot.
Yep. I made sure there was a spot back here. There's a lot of spots that it's just
Similar.
like, how do I get to this? Okay, cool.
Okay, you can close it.
Yeah. I
Can
haven't
we
had
go to
any
video
issues
settings?
since I swapped though. Since I swapped to the speakers, so I genuinely think it's my headset that's giving me trouble.
Yeah, it fully might just be your headset. But yeah, you should be able to up your like render at least up to like 10 chunks. You should be fine.
Ooh, this is a little
Which also probably means I can give my pretty textures back.
I would
Oh,
I would
how long
tempt
until-
it.
there we go.
I would try and tempt it, but not too much.
Okay, here's my question. If I have trapdoors on me, can I use said trapdoors while we're playing, or should we, like, avoid doing that?
probably avoid that.
Okay.
I mean, if they're already in the building, yeah, I don't care. Like if you're sitting in a window, that's
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
If
was
it's,
more so talking
like,
about
placing
like,
more, no.
placing them. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So start off with B&B and we can move to this section later. We can do a cutoff about here or like past these saplings. These refuse to grow. I hate it, but
Okay.
it's because of
you go
this,
past
like-
these saplings. Yeah, I've tried. I got rid of all those pieces. It does not work. It's annoying. I threw like a stack of bone meal on that with those pieces missing.
So upsetting.
Oh wait, because of all these
Okay.
buildings here now, somebody can just go inside one. Because I literally made 0 windows. I did not put a lot of effort into the actual interiors.
Oh, that's okay.
So I'm
just
gonna
go
count
placeholders.
to 30. Good luck, peoples. And then I'll set a timer. We want to do this 5-10 minutes around? Something like that?
Sure.
Yes, we could do. Should we do like 5 minutes just so it's not going
Yeah.
super long?
Yeah, start with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You crouch to get rid of your name tag, right?
Yes.
Yes. Alrighty. 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 5-minute timer start.
Oh God.
Out. Aha. There's a better spot in here. I was hoping somebody used it, but there is a way to get up there.
Rushed in here and was just half looking. I fully would have tried to get up there.
Yeah, you
I
can.
had thought about it.
Please tell me
I
somebody
didn't
used
even
it.
think about
Please
it.
tell me someone used it. No! I thought you would have been there, Lilac.
No. No. I'm smarter than that. I know which spots you're gonna look in.
Also, some paintings you can get behind in, like, the B&B and AFKN.
Yes. Are we doing this, like, tag version?
Yeah, I think that's just the most fair, because there's a lot of spots you cannot see, but you can't really, yeah, it's harder to get to.
Am I helping seeking, or am I just like...
You, if you want. I see that! I can't get out of here! I saw that, Lilac!
You didn't see anything?
Yes, I did. Oh.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, now I just gotta get Misty. I forgot I had a Witherhead in here.
Expensive building techniques.
Oh, yeah.
Why not? I got the time. I got way too much of it. Actually, I've been hesitating to do this, and I've been waiting to do this until the last day. I have not checked my statistic for my time in several months, and back then it was 700. So we'll see how many hours I have.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I refuse to check it. I'm really hoping it's over 1,000 though, because I've had to AFK quite a bit for string. Where?
Wait, did we...
Where's Misty?
Did we ever explain the area to her? I think she...
Did I hide outside the area?
I don't know. That's the thing.
I don't know either. I thought I was in it.
I'm half
Look in the fish.
checking.
I just saw Lilac.
Oh, you did? Then you're good,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. You should be fine.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Peekaboo.
Oh, I see.
I was just hiding in the house.
Oh.
Ow, my face!
Yeah, 5 minutes is good. We still have 2 minutes on that.
Okay, perfect. Just since it's a smaller area.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to the mines then? The mines is a very closed off space. Aside from this one entrance, there's not really another way in. There kinda is way back here, but I feel like that's really obvious that you're like leaving the mine area. There's a couple blocks back here behind the warehouses you can escape, but...
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Alright. Yeah, just use this little area, like...
Yeah.
This rounded area. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't even hid in here, so, like, I'm not gonna know many spots.
I'm at a slight advantage because of building it, but in large part, you gotta be kind of creative about how you hide. Hey, there's a spider here.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Okay.
But I have made sure there are, like, literal hiding spots that are a little annoying to get to, but are good spots.
Oh, goodness.
So who's seeking?
I see Lilac's already found one. Do we want to go on who is found first or last?
I'm okay with either or. We could go with who is found first.
I am struggling to figure out how to do a toggle speak on Streamlabs. Does anybody know where I would find that?
Keybinds?
Oh,
Streamline.
no.
Wait, does this not work?
Not anymore. I wish it did still, but... Oh, you could do.
Yeah, you could do that. I'm used to being able to do the.
Can't get much higher than that, though. Is there a way? No, okay. I'm very curious if there was a way into the warehouse back here, but there almost is, but you can't get up to the roof of this building. So not... Okay.
Which building?
The roof of this one. Because theoretically, you could... If you were very good about it, you could make this jump. But that is also a 4-block jump. While they're figuring out that, I'm gonna be right back real quick.
Okay.
You could get up there.
I know there has to be one, but I cannot find it. I'm in the hotkeys though.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't
Trying to
use
do this without
StreamYard.
breaking anything.
Oh. I'm just struggling because I suck at parkour. Oh my... It's that... Whatever is blocking my head when I'm trying to jump.
What? Where?
Probably this
Where are you
block
trying
right
to
here.
jump?
Onto this. I can just go like that. Then... Hmm.
Oh, there's a pillager with an enchanted crossbow over there.
Oh,
Do you have a weapon of?
I do.
Yeah, I got my
I should
fist.
probably
I don't even have tools.
put on my armor.
You got wind charges? If so, can I borrow that mace?
Uh, yes. I don't think I have any wind charges, actually. Yeah, I don't have any.
Do you have any in it? Like the
I have some at
breeze
my
rods?
base. Oh,
Yeah, I'll
breeze
just go to
rods?
your base with you then.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any, what's it called?
Rockets? Yeah.
Rockets? Okay, perfect. Alright, let me put on this. And we
I'm
can
back.
just go to the portal, because that'll be quicker.
Yeah, the portal's down here, is it not?
Yeah, it's right in here. We're just running to my base real quick so we can grab some,
Breeze rods are
wind
blade.
charges.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it
Oh.
figured out.
Wind charges?
Yes.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, why?
I want to
Oh,
use a
Are you
wait.
mace.
talking about fireworks?
Here, what do you see? Okay, yeah.
Don't remember which way your base is. I want to say it's down here.
Come back. Yeah,
It
it's
is down
this
here,
one right
okay.
here.
Yeah, I was. Wait, is it in any of these?
No.
Rockets.
I think I have a boat in there.
And a rock.
I just want to make sure that
rockets.
you guys can hear me, yes?
Yes.
We can.
Sweet.
Oh, of
I got
course, it
set up
starts
to
snowing.
where, both mics have different buttons.
Oh.
Oh.
Now I can actually do that without taking my hand off
There
my
you go.
mouse or my keyboard, which is great.
Hell yeah.
I can give you more too if you want. Do you want just the extra? Stack
Can I
just
just
in
take a
case?
stack of breeze rods?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
What is this building?
It's the AFK in.
Yeah, that's where I spawned in because I just was like,
Do you
I have
want a
about a
regular
month.
sword?
Sure, I don't mind. I was just gonna fully just mace them.
There you go.
Okay. Smite.
Wisteria, do you want
Do I want what?
Thank
a
you.
sword?
Oh, I love a sword.
Okay. I don't have...
Wood.
Wait, I think I do have a diamond one. There we go. Yes. Okay.
Oh, I should be able to sit in this, shouldn't I?
I gotta figure out how to.
Yeah.
make-
Look,
or-
we actually have a sit mod for season 2, but not season 1.
I've still
Yay,
got my
season
stuff mixed
2.
up. I'm still thinking that we're on the other one. I'm so sorry.
No, you good. I am very much so excited for season 1. I ran out of steam a long time ago for season 1. and I just
gotta
push
figure
through
it
to
out.
try and get all this done.
I think
Well, you
you did a
did
pretty
great.
good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you find your way back?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. I was trying to win the Elytra.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I have it in my office.
whoops.
But yeah, I'm trying to figure.
I still don't
I
like
don't know
copper,
how to do
but
it
I really like
properly.
this stove. That's a nice stove.
Yeah.
Also, not me just standing on your countertops like a Neanderthal. Ooh, shiny piece of candy.
He's
Ooh,
candy.
piece of candy.
Just in case you run into any pillagers or anything like that.
What about pillagers?
There's pillagers
Oh.
around here that I'm macing right now.
What is? Oh, so this is just for protection. This isn't for
Yeah.
fucking you guys.
Yeah, just for protection.
Uh,
Please don't poke
Oh
me.
no! Speak of the devil.
where are you?
Oh.
Would you like some help?
I got it.
Okay.
I was just messing around into a lot of fall damage because I tried the Elytra mace and I don't know how. I don't know how to use the mace. I don't normally play in modern versions.
I only know how to mace because I keep whacking the wandering traders when they show up when I'm building in creative.
Yeah, recently I've been using I've been playing on what is it? 1.20.1? 1.21.1, so I'm just outside of it.
I usually play 19.2. It's gonna be so weird because eventually one day they have to do a 2.1, yeah? That's gonna be a weird day.
2.1?
Because we're on 1.19, 20, 21, 22, etc. It's gonna be really weird one day when it's a 2.1.
So, technically.
Yeah, but imagine if it was one day.
I mean, true.
Is
Are
there
we
a camera
ready?
mod in the season 2 mod pack?
What mod?
In the season 2 mod pack, is there a camera mod?
As in like a time lapse?
No, as in like
Like a little camera item you can take pictures inside of the game.
no,
and
no,
then
no, no,
Oh.
not a
That's
camera.
what I'm
free
thinking.
cam?
No, I had in like so for instance in the Skyblock one that you met me playing, I have like a better camera, so it offers like different perspectives, like a shoulder surf basically.
Oh, we don't have that, but you're free to add it
do.
to your client side.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
Because I know I'm already gonna make my own client side because I really love camera overhaul. It makes the flying so much more fun.
I don't know if camera overhaul is the one that I was using, but what I was using was pretty good. I wasn't sure if I could add it since it could be considered something that could like change gameplay a little bit.
No, it's client side fully.
Well,
Or
no,
like, I think they mean phasing through walls and such. Because I know I do actually have one of those. So if I click, I think it's V. Yeah, I can phase through the ground right now.
I don't know if I don't know how quote unquote overpowered it is, but I do know that one of the camera settings makes your body invisible, sort of like not to other players, but to you, which kind of gives you a benefit of having the close-up camera angle without your body being in the way.
I mean, I use free cams, so
I wonder if it was free cam that I was using. I'd have to go check.
I know what kind of mod you're talking about. But yeah, you're free to go ahead and use that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I added something like that, because everything else has been like sounds, which is mostly just for which is mostly just for ambience and then aesthetic mods. I've tried to stay away from anything that could give me like an advantage against someone else. Not that I plan on doing any PvP because I'm really bad at it.
No, I believe most of this is fully going to be like building
Just
and
chill.
Yeah.
so like
Since it's last day, does anybody want to steal heads? Because, Penguin, I see you like a lot of heads. Do you want to steal any? Because these two boxes have... the top box, there is a gold axolotl that looks hideous, if you would like that. Unfortunately, there are armadillos in there.
Oh.
You said steal heads. I come running after you with a sword about to stab you.
I mean, my head's up in the second box.
I have one. I was like, second one.
Oh, that
Like-
gold axolotl is terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
hey,
here in
Oops.
spirit.
Hey, what's up, Oops?
No.
He's here in spirit. Oh. Oh. You. Wow.
I love that there's zero texture to it. It's just completely blank.
Just bald.
I love Vindicators are still broken.
Okay, are we ready to go on
Yes.
to our next round? Okay, whose hider was I found first?
I was.
You were found second.
Oh, okay.
So am I?
You can just pop in one of the houses over here for seeking.
I'll do use this one.
Okay. Count to 30, and then would you like me to set a 5-minute timer, or do you want to do that?
I can set one if you want.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
gonna go
terrified. I
ahead
don't
and
know
get that
any
set
hiding
up.
spots.
I'm almost tempted to break those beacons, because we have potion effects from them.
Oh.
It's just hay.
Yeah.
So you're fine.
I'm gonna drop down and
Right.
break the
I have
closer one real quick.
I have particles off, so. Or wait, do I have particles off? Because I haven't noticed them.
Oh, okay.
Broke it and replaced it, so we shouldn't have the effect anymore.
I didn't even notice the particles, but apparently I had particles on.
Oh. Okay, let
Clock.
us know when you're
I
counting.
immediately tried to start flying. Where's Wisteria?
Okay.
I think still in the B&B.
15
I
seconds.
see
or-
their Discord trying to talk, but I'm not hearing them.
Uh-oh.
I see it happening, but I don't hear them at all.
Oh,
don't
it would help
either.
if I turned my mic on.
Oh, that'll do it.
Sorry about
That's
that.
alright. That's alright.
Where the heck did you guys go?
We're outside of
Are
the
you
B&B.
still over in the B? Yeah. I'll come grab you. Whoa, lag.
Yeah, we'll be playing.
Oh.
Yeah, we're just playing Ring Around.
It didn't help I
Just
rubber
running
banded during that as well.
Okay, we're
Okay.
gonna be in this area.
Okay, is this the new hide and seek round?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we do
Can I
4 rounds, so
throw
everybody
myself
gets a chance to
into-
be a seeker. You're free to. You can't get back out, but you're free to. I made that sure. There's no way back out.
Okay. Well,
It's a whole new meaning to do it for the stream.
y'all
Yep.
ready?
Do it for the bit.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 30. Okay, I'm coming. Mysteria, you might want to crouch. I just see your name. I look to my.
I'm invisible. I totally forgot that I needed to do that.
It's okay. Oh no!
I'm like thinking, like, what is? It's the first thing I'm gonna see when walking up.
Well, to be fair, I was by that wall over there, but then, you know, I figured you kind of already knew where I was, so
Oh,
I just yielded more or less.
you're also not the only person I
Cool
saw
as
over
heck.
here.
How did you do that?
Wind charges.
That's cool as hell. I haven't gotten to experience any of that mechanic stuff. Like the wind charges, that's from like the challenge rooms, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the trial chambers.
Yeah. Oh god.
I
that
could
almost
go
killed
find a
me.
new one before the end of the day.
Yeah,
Because I think most of the ones nearby are scraped. I think I know.
Yeah,
I think I know a
would
direction
like
where
to
there'd
have
be a
some
new
armor,
one.
though.
Yeah, I don't
I have a bunch of
survive
backup
that,
armor.
You know, naked.
Yeah, we all got like a bunch of diamonds too, so we can always make you guys some at least diamond armor.
I know I saw someone over here.
Or did you?
I would also like
No,
to see an
I know I
armadillo.
did. Because I'm almost positive it was, you. When I
No, it
saw.
wasn't. No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
it was. The way you said that, yes, it
No, it
was.
wasn't.
That'd be like something someone would say if it was in fact the case.
Oh boy.
No, it wasn't.
Now you see me? Now you don't? Oh.
You okay?
I didn't even see him.
Uh,
That little bastard.
There's another creeper kind of like in the middle area, so just be careful.
Well, at least I didn't lose the shark for no reason, because it wasn't in my hand.
Oh, this is true.
I can always give you another one. You saw me.
So, I may have just completely walked around penguins several times over because I failed the first spot I wanted to hide.
You sneaky.
I have just walked in a big old circle very slowly by crouching.
Oh god.
Oh,
And I don't have my boots on. I don't have my pants on, so I don't have Swift Sneak.
Man, I'm gonna look over here.
No!
Hmm.
You suck! You suck! Someone sleep!
Someone sleep.
There's a hole in your building now, and I'm sorry.
It's alright. I'm pretty sure we have backup materials nearby.
There's beds in the B&B, so if you guys
Yeah,
want
I'm
to set your
sleeping
spawn
right
point
now.
closer. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hee.
Did you
I
get a
heard
friend?
wind charges just a little bit ago, but they disappeared.
Yeah, I
And you
have
just
a
scared the
feeling I know
hell
where
out of
you
me.
are, and I know where the other one is.
I thought the
Do
creeper was
you?
coming back for more. I just heard penguin steps behind me, and I didn't realize it was her. I thought it was just, you know, another monster.
I swear he's up. I swear he's near here.
Outside now, I have my face.
It will be well earned when you find me. Yeah, hi. So, I've ran around this 3 times
I
now.
know you ran around. I saw your footsteps. I have subtitles. I'm like running around here.
I
I'm
have
like,
I
where
have
is-
subtitles too. So
are
the
these
problem was I wanted to get up on the smokestacks, but I failed the jump around the block. And so I had to slowly walk around here, then you were nearby. I was hiding down there, and then your wind charges started triggering everything. So I slowly walked into the building, walked in the building, and walked around the building all the way round again.
Oh.
Oh.
had a
Oh.
feeling someone would be down here.
How'd you know? Oh, here, if you want, I got
I have an
three.
elytra. I just
Oh yeah.
like using the wind charges.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Wait, how'd you get out?
Oh,
Please tell me there was such an easier way to get in there.
Yeah, right here.
At least I didn't take any fall damage, so I don't care.
that
There's just such an easier way to go there though.
Yep.
Lovely.
was sneaky. Okay. Are we
So,
gonna keep
Mr.
this spot?
I'm fine with
You what?
staying over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
we want to stay over here.
I'm down with that.
So it's Mr.'s turn. Oh wait,
And then
I have
I'll
a
go
question
after
as
that.
well.
Second.
And then
Oh,
I'll go
okay.
after
I
that.
gotta get this point off my map.
Oh yeah, the death
You could
point.
probably. Oh yeah, death point. Yeah.
Do you want your starter stoker box back? I
No, you're
accidentally
good.
picked it up.
No, you're good.
Mr.
Oh, sure.
Oh.
It didn't have anything in it.
It does. It has stuff in it.
Oh
Did you
I
never
had no
place
idea.
it down and open it?
no!
Oh.
Yeah.
I just thought it was
It's like
the box.
cool.
No,
Let me put my.
it's a starter kit.
That's why I was like, do you want it back? Because I know I've emptied mine.
How do I pick this back up? Do I just break
Just
it?
punch it.
Yeah, you can pick it up with a hand.
I
Okay.
didn't even
Cool.
know you could pick them up with hands.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've been
Okay.
playing Minecraft for so long.
I'm gonna go. What the hell? Hold on. I thought
I
I could
do.
go up
I
there.
do. Oh.
Yeah,
I am
yeah, you
breaking
can.
string.
You just, yeah.
I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna do my counting.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I forgot how long I was supposed to be counting to.
30.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, my
It's
favorite
never
number,
worth it.
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Ready or not, here I come.
I keep trying for the same spot and it never works.
Oh no. I think I chose a pretty good spot. I'm not gonna lie. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, wait.
Uh-oh. Is that somebody's elytra I see? Hi, Lilac.
Uh-oh.
Oh, your elytra sticking through the wall.
That is. Oh, I think it was actually my cape.
Oh, yeah. Your cape.
Such a.
I
Well, that's
It looks
okay because I needed to be caught first, anyways.
Oh, why?
Oh, you haven't seeked yet either, right?
Yeah, I haven't seeked.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that's perfect then. I thought it was like a skeleton arm at first, and I was like, oh god. I'm like, how are you even alive? And then I was like, wait a minute, skeletons aren't pink.
Nope, just us.
Okay, let's see. Oh,
I have my free cam set up so I can see a wide view.
was that Lilac? Okay, that was you running away. Okay, I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
the
That was
impact
Lilac.
running. But I couldn't make out what it said, so I wasn't sure. Ow, all of my ankles.
All two of them.
All two of them.
Gotta love the English language sometimes.
Language is just language. You can make it whatever you want.
I do what I want. I dropped out of high school. I have an excuse.
Why is there a massive? Okay.
Huh?
Why did you dig out all of this?
That explains a lot. Yep.
I'm curious. Full of
This?
what?
The where the meteor is. Why did you dig out a massive hole underneath it?
It was originally a giant hole to bedrock, and then I built it over it.
I have no idea
Oh.
what
It's been a hole to bedrock for months, and then I built the
What you're
minigame
right.
over it because it was the
You're
perfect
right.
spot.
I love my spot.
Searching with my free cam, and I can't even find you guys.
I'm closer than it seems.
You guys have walked right under me.
What?
Oh.
I got a beautiful view of it because I moved my free cam, so I have like a bird's eye view of my area, and I'm gonna have a beautiful zoom in frame of a username underneath me, and me slowly crouching back into my spot. Yeah,
Frick on a stick.
I can't tell. Oh, there I am. I'm trying to move myself back in my free cam view.
Okay, where else?
Oh, that was a cow. I just see movement, and I'm
I feel
like,
I have
wait,
checked
what?
the same
Why is there?
spot like
Oh,
4 times in a row because I keep getting
It's
lost.
the cake shop. By the fun fact, the cake shop is full of cakes. We had a pillager ploy event, and it was made off of pranks. Yeah, so whoever won, I was gonna prank them by filling their house with cakes and putting the prize box in the middle.
You just
What?
accidentally gave yourself away.
it wasn't even intentional. It uncrouched me. I don't know
How'd
how.
you
My
get
keyboard
in
doesn't
there?
work.
That is a hell of a spot, though. I was not looking for impossible
That is-
spots.
That is a
How many
great
more
spot.
minutes?
Oh god, I have no idea.
I don't think
Do
Oh.
2 or 3 minutes then.
Oh boy. Yeah, no, I would never have looked for you under the floor.
my keyboard's been acting up because it's a magnetic one. So every so often it will unclick the button and then re-click it. So
Mm.
That's extremely unfortunate.
if I had just free cam, it wouldn't have done anything.
Aw. Yeah,
I-
you probably both would have won, because I've already been in here. No, I wasn't.
I should have set it to sneak toggle. Then I could be running around in
That's what
free
I
cam
was
right now.
saying. When we did the first one, that's what I was
If
saying.
you crouch and then click your free cam button, it will keep you crouched and it won't show your username.
Hmm.
That's what I've been using.
I
Oh,
don't know.
I set
Feel like
free cam up and then
one of these.
put control back to my character.
Yeah, no, I just click crouch and then go into free cam.
You're definitely gonna win this. I have no idea where you are.
Go back
I've
to the
seen
first
him.
area you
That's
looked.
because I was also using free cam.
Bold of you to
I've
assume
seen
I
him.
remember where I was 2 seconds ago.
It was where I was. It was over here.
Okay.
In the south area.
You're cold.
The place where I was. Wait, what?
You're so cold I can't see your name tags right now.
Oh, son of a biscuit!
You said they started. This is where.
That's where I started.
Oh.
I was counting up on top of the rails in that little like mine building or whatever it was.
You
The
even
first
helped
area
me
you
get in
looked.
The
Warmer.
First area. Oh god, I've blinked several times since then.
The first area
Warmer.
you looked after you found
Warmer.
me.
Hot cocoa.
Did you just
Tea.
go back?
Oh.
Hot cocoa.
Tea. Tea. Chinese tea.
Oh yeah, there you are. I'm not giving it away.
You're almost there.
You've moved since I found you.
I'm so curious now.
You're very close. You're almost there. You just have to move it a little bit more. You're on the right track though. You've just done it wrong.
Can I
Try
please
again.
go-
You're almost there, please.
I don't
You're almost there.
care.
Hi. Oh, bye.
Oh.
Wait, what?
You moved since I found him.
No, I've been right here the entire time.
No, I found you. You were around a different, like over on a different part of that roof. That's why.
Oh.
Oh
I-
my
That's what I was
god. Ah!
So I jumped from there. and then whip.
Oh my
Yeah, you
God,
were, like,
and
over
your
here, and
parkour. I should have known you'd be somewhere I couldn't get to.
Yeah. So the thing I've been trying to do this entire time is get up to the smokestacks, but I can't seem to do that one block Neo.
Aw. Well, you already
I
know
fail
that I
it
can't
every
parkour.
time and end up on the roof instead. So I can make
What house
this.
are you at?
I just
Mister?
can't. I finally make the
What
Neo.
house are you at? Well,
One
it
time?
isn't it. Yeah, Lilac. There.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at your username. It's Lilac's turn.
Yes, it's my turn. Do we want to do this area again, or do we want to go back to the B&B?
We could do this area again. I have another. I wanna. There is a spot I wanna hide. Okay.
Last
Over
round,
here.
I'll seek then. I would like to do the B&B because there's a lot of fun hiding spots, and I would love to show you guys all of them
Yes.
because there's a lot of them that I made for this area. That's a definite. You have to know it in order to find it, kind of thing. Oh,
Oh!
Oh.
Oh,
yeah, maces are
rude.
powerful.
unfortunate.
I did it to Mister earlier.
You could have done it to an animal or anything else.
There's nothing here.
Are you okay? You are here.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Oh no.
I'm finding you first. You're first on my list.
I'm gonna tap you again then.
Don't you dare, that's my mace. This is my mace.
I did. some
Technically, isn't
offhand
it the other
camera
penguin's
grinding,
mace?
so-
Oh, really? Really?
No,
really?
it's Lilac's. I asked for it.
No. So the way they got that mace is we did a bunch of trial chambers together. I got a heavy core, so I gave it to the Oops penguins. And then Oops got another heavy core, so that went to Lilac.
Yeah, it was actually kind of a crazy day.
For some reason, the number one finder of heavy cores on the server. I found 3 of them.
I
And there's only... I
Penguin,
found
I
half
think
of the
I
heavy
think
cores.
it's only right that you get this.
No,
Here you
you can
go.
have it. You can have it. I didn't mean to kill you.
No, it's okay. I was
fully
only
didn't mean to
joking.
kill you.
It's okay, trust me. Okay, I will
Well,
go.
I didn't kill Mystery when I did it, so that's why I wasn't expecting it to kill you. Were you like low a heart or something?
No, I think you just smacked me right on the noggin. You got it.
I did the same thing.
It also depends on height.
Yeah,
it was the
that's
same
true.
height. I could have sworn.
It's okay.
Are you full
seriously.
heart? Or like, are you
Oh.
fully healed, Mystery? Or Mystira? I feel like I'm saying it wrong.
Your mic's speaking, but not
Yeah, we
speaking
can't hear
again.
you, your mic.
Oh no.
My bad.
Oh, good.
You can just call me Misty, and yes, right now I am fully healed.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
Oh.
I don't know. It didn't do it first time I did it.
Oh, I forgot to reset my spawn point. Gosh dang
I'm
it.
so sorry. I'll bring you your stuff. Here, I'm coming. Here.
Oh, thanks.
Here you go.
Here's another blahage, because I feel bad.
Oh, I think I had
this
mine in
looks
my box.
very odd on my skin. Like, come back here.
Where
This,
did my
this,
blahage go? Oh,
I think maybe this other one might be yours.
it might. Oh,
yeah, it don't look right.
I don't have my blahage.
Here,
don't
I
know
have.
where it went.
He threw 2 at me, and mine was in my box. So this
Okay,
one of these
one
is
of-
yours.
Yeah.
Oh, I
thank
didn't
you.
know yours was in your box. Okay.
What the hell? You just tripped me out.
I'm seeing doubles.
So, on my end, I'm assuming this is also happening on Misty's end. With the 3D skin layers, every now and again, my snout pokes out of the head.
I do see that.
Yeah, so suddenly there's just
I
a
also
pink
noticed-
block over your eyeballs.
It's like a mask.
Apples.
I also noticed that in my inventory, for
Oh,
some
wait.
reason, my head is like
There was no
spazzing
block
out.
here.
Oh yeah, that happens on occasion. I don't know why.
I look like I'm having a mini seizure.
Yeah.
Or a rave.
Okay, I will go hide in this little house right here. I'm gonna start counting. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
I think I gave someone my chicken, but I don't care. I think that's a fair trade. I kill them, I give them my chicken. Okay. Let me know when.
All right.
Go ahead, start counting.
Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Oh, you are right about the free cam thing. Okay, wonderful.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
I was right about what?
24.
The couch free cam. Free cam.
27, 28.
Misty, try the
29,
trapdoors.
30.
Maybe don't try the trapdoors right this second.
Here I
A little late for
come.
that.
Okay, I'm gonna check this spot first. Okay, I'm not seeing nothing.
Go around the corner.
No. What? What?
Go around the corner.
Me?
Misty, go around the corner. There's a good spot nearby, I promise you.
Hello?
But if I want to make noise, if I do that, I don't want to make noise on accident.
Hmm.
So I didn't know that. Apparently, wind charges have random projectile.
Oh, so is that what killed us?
No, the wind charges don't do damage, but I'm trying to make noise to show where I'm at, and I can't get it to fly straight because wind charges do random projectile.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's like bows. They're very much bows are barely skill based because they do random projectile directioning.
Uh,
I mean,
oh,
like, if
Lilac, you
fully
just stumbled
start
upon a
aiming
hella good
close
spot.
enough-
Hello.
Oh,
Oh.
that was my last spot.
Oh.
Yeah. My cape was peeking through.
No.
So you can see me.
I'm using free cam.
Okay, so it did. Okay, so I did hit it.
Hmm.
I want to figure out where you are. Penguins. I'm looking, I'm trying, and I'm failing. I'm not even gonna realize when Lilac's found me, because I'm just looking. Oh, the lever got flicked off, or oh, I need to fix the super, smelter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the lever got flicked off. Probably the wind charges. I got lazy on materials, so the lever at the very end for the powered rails is, well, a lever, and it's not a redstone torch.
I see. That makes sense. Oh man, I really suck at seeking.
That's alright. I forgot that that's technically part of this area.
Oh,
That's technically... Oh.
Crap!
I told you!
I got you. Okay, I gotta go up.
That's what they were telling me to use the trapdoors for, and I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I saw
Did
that
you
wind
see
charge!
that?
Oh, you are clever.
Huh?
I see your
I'm
spot.
trying not to die. No, let me go down, please.
Why?
I'm gonna get myself killed. Oh, I wasn't even crouching.
Well, I actually just saw your head.
Oh.
Let's see.
Did you not notice the trap doors that were right here all messed up?
No,
threw
I
one from the
didn't.
very bottom.
Oh my
I
god.
almost gave you away because I
totally
almost
down
asked
there, and then
Lilac to fix
I got
them.
stuck up there.
I'm just blind as a bat. It's okay.
I got stuck at the very bottom.
Oh.
Or it was at the very bottom, and then I came up by accident.
How do I get up here? Let me in. Oh god.
Which lever was it? This one?
The one in the back, yeah. Where the chest minecart is right now.
Yeah, I went and go ahead and fixed it since I was the one who messed it up.
Thank you.
Mew, where are you?
South.
South.
Ugh. South.
I am not far from where I was before. I'm within a chunk of where I was before.
You've been hiding in that same spot
It
every
works
time.
It works every time. I failed the same one every time, and I find a new spot every time. Hi, how are you?
I saw it. You're right here.
Yeah.
Oh! Now we're punching each other. Okay.
Alright, I gotta tell you all the secrets about the B&B.
I did not mean to
Yes.
throw one.
It's
I'm
okay.
gonna take it out of my offhand.
So, B&B's got a fair amount of hiding spots, and even just around the building alone has a fair amount. Where's Misty? Oh, there.
Right there.
So, AFK in, there are 2 paintings, I believe, if I remember right. There's one right here, where you can hide in.
Oh yeah, I remember these.
And there is one upstairs you can hide in as well. And like showing that off. And I'm probably gonna disconnect in a second here. And oh yeah, my stream's still going. I have not checked in a minute. And then down in the basement, behind the barrels, the big old wine barrels, there is actually a full spot to hide. So you can plop all the way down there.
I mean, you could do this.
Where did the tripwire hook go? There we go. My hooks.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a tripwire hook on the edge. Oop.
Yeah. Where'd the other one go? There's one more.
You going there?
Nope. Maybe it just disappeared. Why are you just throwing all of them in there?
I'm not. I was putting dirt in there.
Oh. And then there are, like, trapdoor boxes around. I wish they worked. They don't, unfortunately. I never checked if they do.
Your head kind of sticks out of them, but
Yeah.
you might be able to make it work.
And then the B&B also has some spots.
Now this could be a decent spot.
Hmm?
Where am I at?
I fully see you.
No, I mean it could be. I never said it is.
Yeah. I'm gonna sleep real quick.
There's a good spot back here.
Yeah. There's the dumpster. There is a way to get to it from back here. These trapdoors. Where did everybody go? Yeah.
I can smell you.
You gotta come inside the B&B in order to get into the dumpster.
Oh, but then how do you get out?
Yeah, it's annoying to get back out.
Is there anything in the barrel? No.
Is that not the building I'm in?
No, that's the AFK. Why are you breaking my dumpster? We can also go in through this window. And then upstairs are a bunch of armor stands, which I suppose you could hide in. There's like a little changing spot that is, or like a privacy, I don't know what to call privacy screen. That could be a hiding spot. And the back balcony allows you access to the AFK's roof, which you can hide in. But it is not tall enough to get on top of the B&B. You have to do the trapdoor trick on the back end in order to get up there.
But this is a cool building technique. I've never thought about doing this.
Yeah. In the back, there are storage bins, and you can hide in there as well. And then, I think that's about it for, like, purposefully made hiding spots around here.
Yes. So are we just doing the B&B building?
We can do the B&B in surrounding spots. If you would like, guys would like to,
Okay.
so it's a bit of a bigger space. There's also like this fish shop over here, the cake shop, and the warehouse. We could expand so it's this general vicinity.
Sure. Yeah.
Alright. So I'll do one last count, and then we can move on to some other mini games.
Okay.
Okay.
I get where I'm hiding.
Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22,
You should go.
23,
You should go next to
24,
that. Copper.
45,
Miss.
46, 27,
Next
28,
what?
29, 30. I'm on my way. I'll weave my way. I'll weave my way.
So like you blend in. You get what I mean?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
I have no idea where Lilac is. I only know where Misty is.
Nope.
Sneaky. Not gonna lie, I kind of panicked.
Nope.
Good.
Hello? No, nope.
Oh. I was like, oh. Never mind.
A panic spot indeed.
Hmm? Oh!
I saw your hair.
Ah, shoot. Yep.
There is a way out. You could jump on the trap door.
Oh. Oh!
There you go.
The barrel just disappeared.
Click
It
it.
looks like it's in your hand on my end. Yeah, just click it a few
There we
times.
go. Yep, I-
Sometimes it's just a
There we
little
go.
laggy.
It's a fake ghost block.
Yeah.
I see.
Y'all heard me eating.
I did hear you munching.
Mama munch. Up. Oh.
Oh my god!
Bad angle. I wish there was a way to get on the B&B sign. On the side.
That would
I
be
thought this was
great.
hide and seek, not hide and murder me.
Yeah, I did the
close.
murdering earlier. What are y'all still looking for me?
Yep.
Okay, so it don't expose spot. Got it.
I never put the timer on. Well.
Nope.
Just call it like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you found them fairly quickly.
Uh.
Misty, I think you went too far. Or at least I believe
Jeez,
it's
I'm-
Misty.
Okay, I'm not doing that, so I forget that. Boop.
Hi. Yeah, I've just been sitting under the sign.
Yeah. They were she was on the B&B roof.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Whee!
Oh,
Yippee.
Holy mother.
What would you guys like to do next? If we're leaving the floor's lava last,
Oh.
there's the mine chute, Mordor, and piston push. Alright, we can do that.
Eventually
I
the
can
piston push.
probably only do like 1 or 2 more mini games. I gotta get going here.
Okay, then we could do floor's lava first, and then the rest later.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
That's alright.
Yeah,
Fine.
we can do that.
Floor's lava is
Get it.
fantastic to play, and I'd much rather people get the chance to play it.
Sounds
I want to go
good.
first. I want to be the game master first.
Alrighty.
Oh, you filled out this area a lot.
Yeah.
This used.
Yeah, it was empty. It was very much so. Oh, rubber band. It was very much so empty. If you see mobs on the mini-map, it's because I didn't light up the buildings. But they can't get out of the building, so it's fine. We gotta go around this end. This side. You can, yeah, that's another way.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah, it's all the way back here.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put my stuff here.
Also, make sure your sounds are up.
Considering my face is there.
And make sure you set your spawn point.
I know where my stuff is because my head's next to it.
Oh, perfect.
Don't forget spawns. Right here, yes.
Yep. Do we need an extra bed?
No. Everybody can
No,
sleep
you
in the
can
same
use
bed,
more
it
than one
works. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I can get rid of mine. There we go.
How long have you been playing Minecraft?
I've been playing for a while, but I'm used to playing the Bedrock version more so
You
to
can do that
use-
on Bedrock too.
No, really?
Yes.
What? Because there's been so many times I like play with my sister or other people, and we use the same bed, and one of us gets on.
No, yeah, you can fully use the same bed for everyone.
As far as I knew, that it wasn't bed specific. The only thing I ran into bed specific for was for like villagers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's villagers and that's it.
What the heck? Oh, maybe it's because I had the beds floating or something.
That might be it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was doing bunk beds.
So this is the floor's lava. When the button gets pushed, the floor turns to lava. So don't be on the floor when that happens.
Oh.
Like that.
I was doing it as a demonstration. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
And when it gets clicked again, the floor, lava goes away.
Okay, so we just run around.
And it's made of very shoddy redstone, but it is fun. And we'll see how long everybody can last. Oh.
Oh!
No, 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 no.
Oh my god.
I almost fell for it again.
Oh. Okay.
Boop, 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 boop. Gotta be careful listening for the sounds.
Oh my god.
Oh. Oh.
You see why she wanted to go first now?
Yep.
And this is also why I have a light system.
So you can, up here, you can also see them.
See.
The ticking. Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fuck.
I
I
see.
thought for sure I'd just land on that.
Oh.
I wish I could shake off the fire.
Shake it off, shake it off. Dun, dun. Someone should make that a mod. I don't know how you'd calculate. Oh,
Yeah, I have it on my Skyblock map.
Oh. I didn't
uh-oh.
register.
It's got overdone. Okay, hold on. I need to go in the wires.
Oh. I pulsed it. Sorry. Yeah, I
The
pulsed it. Is
wings.
the wedge supposed to be on when it's ready or off?
It's supposed to be on when the lava's on.
Yeah, I post. Oh, I mean over up here. I posted again. I've done
I
that
didn't-
before.
I need my pickaxe.
Oh.
I think the quickest way to fix that would just be remove the lanterns and then put them back in.
Yeah.
Because we need it to be off. Oh, nope.
The trapdoors are acting weird.
Oh, yeah, I should have expected that.
Me, I'm acting weird.
Water
Wait,
bucket.
you
Yep.
can reach them from down here?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm like, what is going on?
Someone picked up my pickaxe.
Not high.
Anyone have another right pickaxe on them by chance, and perhaps some rockets?
No, I saw it fall over
There you go,
here,
thank
but
you.
then there
I was
another
climbing up to
place,
go
so-
give it to him.
Oh, okay.
Boop. There we go. Boop. No, 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 no. I am not getting another elytra. I do not have another backup.
Yeah, because you give me your backup.
Yep. Nope, you can't make that. Fun fact, you can't make that jump.
I think I've killed everybody at least once, yeah.
Yeah. I think me twice, but you know.
I think I've
It
died at
is.
least
I
twice,
have
maybe
killed
3
you twice.
times.
Okay. So
Alright, who wants to be controller?
I'll go.
Alright.
Okay.
If you go around the back side of the building, there's a dirt path. I love that for some reason these leaf plants are flammable, but not by lava.
I know. I was wondering
Ow!
about that.
I only have 1 heart
Yeah.
left. Easy.
And so you just click this button, and
Yep.
it
I
does
see.
Oh, server
that.
lag.
And then you click it again to get rid of it. Okay. I'm gonna walk down because I don't want to try and lose more hearts. I say as I
I
press
have
it,
a
it's like
single
awful
heart. If I
jumping.
fall off, I'm screwed.
I could reach you,
So
perhaps.
figure out how to get you to fall off. Got
Oh.
it.
No! No! Y'all ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's get this started.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh,
Can't make that. Still can't make that. That is not a thing you can do.
There should be like a side mission that's like a parkour to get up to the
No,
balcony
you get down.
and like, oh
I was not high health. Oh wait.
no! Goodbye,
I love
pink
my
bullhead.
death point is mid-air. Yeah, it's not something you can make. You always think it's possible, but it's just not something you can make.
You can make it from the tall one. I did it last time when we were playing.
Make what from the tall what?
And from any like 4 cardinal directions. If you're at the very top of the tall one,
Oh.
Oh no!
you can switch up
Oh, no.
one of the cardinal directions.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Make my way back.
Uh-oh.
Oh, are we out of wind charges? Oh no.
No?
It just sounded weird. Okay.
I think I just toggled it wrong.
When will I stop burning? There we go, that's one.
That is
I'm
the
on my
question.
way.
This took like
Oh,
4
there's a
shulker boxes of
creeper
lava,
there,
by the way.
I'm gonna give it a hug. I'm gonna give him a hug.
Oh god, not next
Mr.
to the wall.
Creeper. Hi, Mr. Creeper. Oh,
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, please
no,
be
it's nice
careful.
I didn't realize he was.
Let me-
That is the first time I've picked up stone.
Is anybody stuffing those barrels? Okay.
That was Misty's.
Mine was. Oh
Yeah.
no!
I have
Got
it.
it. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
yay,
gonna
okay.
go grab a piece of stone to repair that. This.
I thought I was away from him. Oh, and you
Yeah,
need to
creepers are annoying.
there.
They are unfair on the server for some reason.
You need a stair and a weathered
Very,
trapdoor.
very sneaky.
I so quick.
What? Where's? Oh,
Yeah, you need a stair.
weathered. Oh, one of the copper trapdoors.
That was spooky.
Yeah, weathered trapdoor.
Boop.
Oh, so close on that one, Penguin.
Oh. My lead!
Wait,
Oh,
where?
I got you both!
Where am I getting hit? Where did I get hit from?
I don't
What do you mean
know.
hit?
I was standing perfectly on the center, so I still have yet to set my spawn over there.
Oh no!
Oopsie.
So I have to run all the way back from the B&B.
How in the heck?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Your whole head must be in lava right now.
Yeah,
yeah,
it
Minecraft
is,
don't
but,
care about that.
It's just a nice warm jacuzzi. What are you
Oh,
talking
I
about?
wonder. I think we ran out
Oh,
of
that's-
charges or something.
Yeah, I'm stuck in the lava.
This is the,
Let
I
me
like to
dig
deep
in.
The wind charges, I'll shut it off.
Okay, I'll go for a little swim.
Oh my god!
Yeah, we are out of wind charges. Careful! It is very finicky. It is extremely finicky. Yeah, it's broken.
Oh
just put
no!
one
I'm
in
sorry.
each.
Is it something?
So we have to one by one click them now.
Okay, well I was just putting one wind charge into each. Just the
You must have hit one at some point because now it's broken above.
Oh no. Buckets.
No,
Buckets
as in like a wind charge was activated down here, so they didn't all go off together.
Oh.
I see.
Yeah, so I'm down here and I need to click the right ones in order to fix it.
Oh dear.
Because I am not going and getting these lava buckets again.
Do you want me to tell you, like, which ones still have a lava source block?
I'm using free cam to go and check.
Oh, okay.
Now it's half of them. And all the ones I just clicked are back again.
It's because I clicked this button. Wait.
But it triggers the other ones as well. If it's not all triggered at the same time, they start triggering each other. So you have to completely turn all of them off one by one with the buttons. Or if you're in creative mode, use buckets. But the buckets are in the dispensers, so the only way we can efficiently do this in survival is to click it one by one to fix them.
That's a big yikes. I'm just glad it wasn't me that broke the thing. It's usually me that breaks the thing.
Oh.
No, this time it was me.
I spent way too long figuring out how this breaks, why it breaks, what breaks.
I remember part of that fight.
Yeah, so if it's not perfect, it fails, is the issue. So as long as everything has wind charges, it's fine. But once it doesn't, then it messes up.
Do you need more wind charges?
Yes. I
Okay, so
do not
can
have a
go grab
backstock.
some. I can go grab some real quick.
If you just click on the dispenser, if the bucket's empty, you can crouch and click on the button. What the fuck?
So how's y'all's day?
Going good.
Pretty decent. Mostly spent the morning working on the season 2 stuff.
Oh, I still have to set up my mod pack for that. It shouldn't
I
take
do
too long.
too.
It should... What are all the mods that we're using?
There is the mod pack set up. You can just download it.
Oh, so I just have to add...
Yeah.
Clients that one's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing all of my client-side stuff for mine.
Alright, I hope this will be enough wind charges. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 stacks and 46. So do you want me to...
That will definitely do.
Based? Okay.
Yeah. There are 9 dispensers down here, so if we put a stack in each, that'll be good.
Perfect.
I'm gonna try and get the Season 2 server up and running Wednesday. I need to spend a couple days editing all of this. And then the other footage I have.
Sounds good.
Also, when you get here with the wind charges, please do not put the wind charges in yet. Resetting these dispensers also triggers the redstone system.
Okay. Wait, did I get... I'm here, yeah. I'll just throw them to you.
Okay.
Wait, where? Are you in?
I am down below in the gubbins.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, it's held together with duct tape.
That is okay. Plenty?
Yes.
It's functional duct tape.
Yes.
Totally.
Until it breaks.
Where?
But yes.
Where did my Elytra go?
Did you put your... I think you put your elytra in here. Here.
Because
This was
did
my
I?
stuff in here, yeah.
Oh. Oh, because there's my sword and there's my other wind charges too. Because mine was the bottom one, so I might have just accidentally put them in the wrong one.
Oh, you're good. No worries. Well, I think I do have to get off here, guys, but it was
Alrighty.
great meeting you all, and I'm so excited for Season 2.
Bye-bye.
Bye, have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I need to leave.
I'm halfway through.
Time to rename the stream. Mew fixes the floor is lava.
Yep.
Okay, bye!
Bye-bye.
I wonder if there's
On the
a
last
better
couple
way that we
rows.
could, like, streamline this.
I don't know it. There's a reason we are doing this system and not any other system. I don't
Right,
know
I
how.
understand.
The only other thing I could think of would... I don't even know. It would cause the same problem again. The other thing I could think of would be pistons on redstone blocks, but you have the same problem again.
Yeah, if there's even
I'm
like a
just
little bit of
thinking-
DC.
Or just not doing it completely, like, surrounded by lava, but only doing certain sections of lava. And making sure
I'm
it
just
completely
saying,
spreads out.
Certain sections
Instead
of
of doing
lava
it all
would be fun,
stores.
though, because then it would be, like, random, right?
Well, not in certain sections, but like lava spreads to so many blocks and then making sure it's covered with that spread.
Yeah.
So instead of
doing
it
all
completely every single block.
Ah! No, my shark! Oh my
I
god!
will give you a new one.
Ow,
There you
bug!
go.
I can't get out!
Did somebody cover the hole? I can't
dear.
look and check if it looks good yet.
Oh dear. I can't get out of the lava. Oh my god.
Oh, why is that? Oh, the dirt.
Yeah, I placed.
Yeah, I need to be able to see where,
You can
how
walk
it
back,
is.
You can walk back up.
and it's got triggered again. So I have to go through all of them again.
I cannot walk back up. Oh, and there it goes. I'm
Can
gonna
you
lose
please not do wind charges nearby this system at all? Because it triggers the other ones.
A wind charge.
a rip stuff.
I haven't done a wind charge. I haven't done a wind charge.
Yeah, I haven't noticed any.
I just heard one go off, and there weren't any in the dispensers.
Are you
That
sure?
wasn't a wind charge.
Are you sure that wasn't
Okay.
my totem going off?
I
might
swear
be
I
a
heard a wind
totem
charge before that. Okay.
Or that might have been a totem popping or someone's stuff burning. Here.
I
you-
lost the sword that Lilac gave me.
No,
Uh-oh.
you didn't. I just dropped it to you. That was the sword I gave you. It survived. It was the one thing that survived.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. That's nice.
Because it was sitting like right here.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, perfectly right
Fudge
there.
on a stick. Well, now I'm down here. I won't touch anything, but I'm stuck down here now. I have no
Okay.
blocks. I lost my shulker box.
No one here.
Just
You can
please be careful and do not touch a thing. I do not want to have to reset this again.
I'm not, I promise, not touching anything. Oh, thank you.
Zeep, zeep, zeep.
Sorry, this is taking a moment, but if it's not reset, it's just gonna be horrible.
And no, you're fine. I was just dealing with a bot that popped into the channel.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I hate those.
Yeah, the ones that are like,
Go to insert website for bots.
yeah.
No, it was a use the best viewer.
Oh, okay, I see what's happening here.
I'm thinking of the ones that are doing that do the, hey, would you like me to do a free commission for you? And I'm like, no, because you're obviously a bot.
I get bots in I play Second Life a lot, and I'll get people messaging me being like, do you want professional photography done? I need to pay my rent for my sim, and I'm a photographer. I can do it for however many lindens. And I'm like, I already have a photographer, and I am one. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, that stuff like that is what I'll get every so often.
And it's always the same message. They're like, hi, how are you? Can I ask you a question? And if you are one of those people that are mean, please don't bother responding to this message. The last time I got one of those, I was just like, look, I get it. Just move along. I'm not the one, bro.
Yeah. It's like, if you come to my channel asking that, you've asked the wrong person. I've had professional graphic design training. I've gone through multiple graphic design classes. I am the wrong person to ask. I have dabbled in almost everything art.
Yeah, that's like someone coming to me and being like, hey, do you need me to do, like, design a house for you? No, I'm literally certified to go do that.
That's hilarious.
Nice.
Like, I'm certified to go design my own house. I don't need you to do it.
Like, I've learned 3D art for fun and made myself several VTubers at this point. Just through grit and grime. I'm like, maybe this will work. Maybe I'll get it to work in a lot of YouTube tutorials. I'm the last person that would just... I'm the last person that you want to be talking to.
I'm kind of cheating with mine. I'm using like a readily available resource that I just did the texture for. Because texturing stuff is my alley. Like, that's what I know. So slapping a Vox texture on the Fox avatar was pretty easy for me. At some point, I would love to have something custom, but at the current time, it's not like a super, it's not super high on my list.
That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, so actively, I'm certified in like AutoCAD, which is just general floor plan drawing, and then I'm now getting certified in Revit, which is like the actual 3D modeling of it.
That's awesome. I don't suppose you have any ladders or something that can get me out of here.
No.
Why is it not fixing itself? Because it looks the exact same despite me fixing it. And this one doesn't have a bucket. The buttons even trigger the next one over. I think there's literally no other way to fix this than a bunch of buckets.
Oh gosh.
There's no way to fix it. I will have to fix this later. Because it's not something I can currently fix. Yeah. I'll go down or go up and... Yeah. Because the problem is everything triggers each other.
Yeah. I'll be back real quick, y'all. I gotta go do something.
Okay.
There we go. I'm free!
So, I need to deal with that later. Because even though, like, below it looked like I was fixing everything, I figured it out from the two over here. If I click the button that would fix this dispenser, it triggered the dispenser next to it, was the issue.
Oh.
Which is fine if all of them are on or off, but if they're mixed, then it's instantly horrible. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that later. Because I can
I'm really
steal the
grateful
buckets
you
from
have
each dispenser,
gravestones.
but...
I saw that you had gravestones on the season 2 pack, and I'm very grateful. That whole thing
Yeah.
where like my totem popped, and then I was still stuck, so like I still died and lost all my stuff.
Yeah, I don't know...
Me.
I'm not sure if the gravestones burn or not, but I do know that you can also, like, craft them for decor.
What do you mean?
You can craft the gravestones in various states for decor, so you can make your own, like, fake gravestone, and make a graveyard with the same gravestones that we use as the death. No, it's also. So it is on
cool.
death, you get a gravestone, but you can also craft them to be a fake one.
Nice, that's cool. I have a gravestone mod for my pack as well.
Yeah. I love enigmatic graves, but it's not available. I wasn't able to find it on that version, so we're using the other one instead.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I wish that I could use the 3D skins with like the blinking, like the little facial expression thing. Because like I did make a texture for that.
The other ones that are left are the Mine Shoot, Mordor, and the Piston Push.
I'm down for Mine Shoot, because isn't it over in this area?
No, it's on the other side.
Where are each of them?
Piston Push is over
On the
here,
other side.
Mine Shoot, and Mordor is over there.
Then we'll do the Piston Push, which is this one.
And if it does not work and we glitch out, then I have the ability to fix it real quick. I made sure I could. Because there was a problem with... you weren't actually able to jump away from the pistons. You would get glitched and stuck in the piston.
Oh dear.
So hopefully that should be fixed at this point. So this little area is the control room. We're all going to hop down here before you hop down below. So when you hear the ding, the piston goes. And so you just gotta jump out of the way of each of them. And y'all are free to jump down. And we can switch about who's being the controller as well. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I was very worried that this wouldn't work out. Oh.
Well, hell.
You can jump across, too.
Yeah.
Oh crap! My spawn point's all the way over here.
Oh, yeah. You gotta see your spawn point again at the new spot. Y'all wanna do a few rounds before becoming the controller, or would either of you like to try? Okay.
I know you have different sounds, I just don't know the sounds.
Behind you.
Oh, bug on a stick!
I got stuck in the piston, so it wouldn't let me
Son of a biscuit!
If that becomes a reoccurrent problem of you guys getting stuck in the pistons, then I can fix the redstone.
It's probably just a delay.
Yeah.
Behind you.
Behind you.
I was trying to help them because they don't know the sound.
Dang it!
It's the same one every time, too.
Well, I think I figured out which one's gold.
It's a loud tink.
Oh, son of a biscuit!
I think a rule of thumb for you would be if you hear a note block, jump.
I tried to jump. This is where
You lagged across my screen for a second there. Okay, do you want to... This is the clay.
Oh. That sounded like the gold.
This is the gold.
It's a higher pitch.
This is the glowstone. And the one I keep catching you on is air, but I don't want to put air blocks there, so. Play?
Okay.
Nope. I tried.
My reflex time isn't fast enough for this.
Fair enough. I imagine I'd be very much in the same scenario. Because I am just, like, always a beat behind.
Oh, bug on a stick.
If you
yeah.
so, if you have if you have like spatial audio and stand in the center, you can hear it.
Oh, dang it! I tried. I think I like got.
Just trying to get Penguin down one last time, but it's not happening. Oh, finally! There we go. Okay, I want to
heard it
play.
behind me.
I want to play.
Okay, that's fine. Control. You gotta figure out these. Are these? I control.
Okay.
Oh, you're just gonna spam them, aren't you?
No.
Definitely not.
Jump.
Oh, dang it! I just can't like process in time.
Ow! Pistons didn't go away fast enough. This one ended up being a lot more fun once it's actually fixed and works appropriately.
Oh, frick! I like the concept definitely.
Oh.
I'm just having a hard time actually like jumping
Oh. There we go.
Jump.
away from anything. Yo, even when you say jump, it's not fast enough for me to get out of the way.
Wait. I love the snow on wool actually fix. Oh.
Oh, I jumped right into it.
I love that wool carpet on snow actually, like, 0 fall damage. Doesn't matter how far you fall, it's always no fall damage.
Oh,
Oh, it didn't go back far enough.
I did that on purpose.
Oh, I got your head. Never mind.
Also, I did not know that about the snow.
Yeah. Oh. There we go. I'm fixing my waypoints. There you go.
That's fine. It was just shoving you down there.
I didn't make the jump.
Aw.
I didn't make the jump.
You missing the jumps. It's not even the pistons.
Let me fix my waypoints.
Honestly,
There you
that
go.
seems like something I do though, so.
And there's another waypoint.
Just shut off death waypoints.
Ow! I'm so bad!
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Wait, what? How do you do that?
If you're using the journey
I
map,
don't know.
disable group. Disable group.
I have no idea what that means.
What keybind do you have journey map set to? Or, like-
J turns up the whole one.
And then on the full journey map at the bottom, very left button is the waypoints, and then there's the death group, and there's the little power button, and you can disable it.
Nice!
Misty, would you like to control for a bit?
Well,
I was just about to.
There we go.
Most of those were just me.
Oh, I have this
okay,
placed
well, I
wrong.
did pretty
Okay,
well,
whatever.
Actually, all things considered, that was probably the longest I've lasted.
True.
Oh,
Oh no!
yeah, clearly I'm not using my listening ears. I need to fix
You
that.
dirty cheater!
How am I a dirty cheater? What?
You look
Dirty brother killer.
How is that cheating?
No, it's not really cheating.
That's why I've been doing this like entire time.
I've been based on the sound.
Oh.
Oh. Hi there.
Oh!
Like,
It's the high pitched. I keep getting the two high pitched ones
The
confused.
glowstone and the gold?
Yeah. Not glowstone. I think it's the clay's the other high pitched.
The glowstone's pretty high pitched. I think.
I don't know.
Oh, no, you're right, actually. I'm sorry. I didn't even know. No, the
I
clay...
believe it. This one and
Yep.
this one that are the.
Yeah, the gold
Yeah,
is
they
like...
have very similar sounds.
The gold sounds like a cowbell.
oh no, the chat.
The
Yeah,
gold's a
because these two
cowbell.
have very deep
The
sounds.
clay is like
I'm
a
gonna
piano
be right
sound.
back for a sec.
Okay.
The clay is kind of... It's like a lower key piano sound. That kind of sounds like a
Whistle.
like a distant car
Like a
horn.
wood one. Oh, I'm hearing a wood one.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair actually. Woodwind's a good. Oh, rip. Woodwind's a good one. Let me. And then that one's like the most mute of the sounds.
Which blocks is he using? He's using. Oh, he's literally just using like glowstone clay and all that. Okay.
And then the muted one is air. The muted one is air. Glowstone is the piano bell, and that's the cowbell.
Oh. Wait. No, I said wait.
Oh no!
I was
thought
muting
you
the Minecraft music.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
You're good.
I thought you were saying wait, like because I was gonna get you. Let me know
No.
when.
Okay, you're good. I already did it.
Oh, miss.
There's such a delay between the pistons.
Yeah, there is a little bit.
If
I
it was
feel like
more
it
of like
adds
this stops playing because there's like you can I don't know, it's weird. I was trying to double jump, like jump to that one, then jump to the other one. I'm just being excuses.
Whoa.
I'm back.
Did you do that on purpose?
Do what?
Like fall like did you open that as you fell?
Mhm.
That was like kind of OP. Welcome back.
This is annoying me. I'm gonna fix
trying
this
to
trapdoor. It's not
just
facing the
move
correct way.
Why'd you break it?
It's not facing the correct way. It's actually put on the wall, not on the glass.
Oh.
It's been annoying me this entire time. Oh, there I go. Oh, there I go.
Oh no! My trap was too effective. I sent you to your death. You gonna come down here?
Yeah.
Wait, before
My
you
music had just
don't kill me
paused.
real quick. Don't kill me real quick. I'm gonna try something.
Okay.
I want to see if I
Ooh.
can.
I wonder if free cam would be a good choice for this, but it probably wouldn't be. I'm gonna fail the first jump. I don't know.
Oh dear. Like you're gonna try and lock it in place and then move your character in like
Yeah.
a third person.
That's exactly what I'm about to try and do.
Shit. Good luck, you guys.
I should have probably made a visual cue for this as well, but I feel like
you probably should have.
that would have been a little too easy.
Well, I don't know. I guess it kind of depends though, because like with me having kind of a delayed
She is the
reaction time-
visual cue. If you look up, she is the visual cue.
Yeah.
You can see which ones
That's
they're
kind of
pressing.
true because I wasn't looking up at all. I was just trying to go off of sound.
That's something I was trying to figure out when I designed this. Like, is there a way to get a player to see, like, the control master to see what's going on with the player not being able to? And there isn't necessarily a good way to
There kind of is.
to go about it.
Can you
There
do like
is,
a,
but there
a map
isn't.
on the underside?
You could. That's what I
If
was-
you because you can see the backside of the map. It has a texture.
Hmm.
The only thing I could think of would be a block, but then it'd be difficult to do anything. Like, we have armor stand mod, yes? So
Tinted
I can
glass.
take a block and make it really sized up. Tinted glass isn't a one-way glass, it just makes it darker.
I know, but it makes it harder to see. That's what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
well, that's
Mhm.
not a bad idea actually, because
The other
we
thing I
would
thought
still
of was
be
like
able to see-
grates. But then that
feel like-
also kind of doesn't help too. Because you need the controller to be able to see as much as they can, but the players not to was the issue.
I think with how
That's
much
kinda
you
what
guys
I'm
are
getting at is
moving down
tinted glass.
below, the tinted glass is good for me because I can just stand here and see, whereas you guys would have a harder time seeing what I'm doing by looking up through it while you're having to dodge.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice save.
would y'all like to check out Mine Shoot and then we can wrap up the day with Mordor?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Can I go again with controlling real quick?
Sure.
What are we doing?
So-
What?
So drop in and then click left your right click if you want to do what I did earlier. But so I wanted to go again on controlling.
My right click?
Oh,
Yeah, when you're
Oh,
dropping.
bug.
So if you I'm gonna kill you real quick so I can show you.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go through the center one as you're falling, click right click. You can like as you're falling.
you're just showing like clicking the trapdoor as you fall.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Because I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Mine Shoot, you don't have to worry about your stuff. There should be literally impossible for you to die.
That's good to
Okay.
know.
Unless we start shooting each other.
Yeah, that is the one and only way you'd be able to.
Can I get possibly more rockets from you?
Yes.
'Cause I'm on 7
It's
or 4.
snowing. How pretty.
Yeah, apparently everybody else would disagree with you on that.
Oh, you
About
picked
the
up my
snow?
box.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I have been working tirelessly to de-snow this entire area.
Yeah, but falling is pretty.
I do agree with that. Falling is pretty, but it is very, very annoying for building.
Yeah.
Oh dang.
So where's Mordor?
Yep. We're
which
going to
one are we
Mine Shoot first. We have to go back to town spawn. Yeah, you can't go that way.
Oh,
I
go there.
yeah.
Whoops. Oh, I heard a skeletons. I'm scared. Spooky.
Okay, the snow.
They're probably inside one of the buildings that I didn't light up.
Okay. Oh, hello.
There we go. Hey, you where?
What?
Oh.
Can you not see me?
I can see you. I can't see penguins. Oh, penguins is already
Oh.
over there.
No, I'm only at the map.
And mine shoots all the way off in the corner.
Oh, over here. Got it. The furthest building?
The mine shaft.
Oh.
What the heck?
It's a little mine shaft in the far corner.
Oh,
I'm
got
just
it,
trying
got
to
it, got
figure
it.
out how you got under that tree so fast.
I'm still refusing to look at my hours until the end of this. I was about to say, like, oh, that happens when you play insert hours, but I don't know how many hours I have still. Okay, so each... Oh, wait, penguins? Penguin?
You know where I'm at, or where it is.
Shoot the cards for points.
Yep.
Furnace is 3,
Yeah.
chest is 5.
Oh, I see. I see.
You see the pink blob?
Flew right over it like.
There you go.
Yep, I flew over it like 3 times.
Alright. So in each of these chests is a crossbow and a bunch of arrows.
Yay, crossbow.
There are 4 different types of carts. There's the normal carts, hoppers, furnace carts, and chest carts. The furnace and chest carts will only be in the back row. They are worth the most points. I'm gonna click the button and get the shooting range started. Oh, lovely. Thunder. I'm gonna handle that real quick. I don't want to do dealing with that. Oh. Well, that'll do. Is my redstone broken? Oh, you didn't actually. No, it is clicked. Oh, there we go.
I did click it.
And it's gonna slowly start shooting at minecarts.
Okay, I opened that one.
Yeah, you gotta be careful not to open it either. Ah.
Okay, so I'm gonna step back.
I am not good with the crossbow.
Yeah, I did crossbows instead of bows, just so you can't spam it.
You should do quick charge ones, because quick charge is
Yeah.
like,
No. Okay. I just haven't messed with crossbows at all. I thought it'd be interesting.
Oh,
oh, we have to stay in one spot, got it.
dang it!
Yeah, because the collects to the barrels for your points.
I see.
Why
I
is
got
it...
one. I didn't realize I hit one.
Wait, did it
I'm
stop?
looking at my redstone real quick. Why? Oh, that's why it's not triggering. The clock failed. Hold on, there you go.
Oh, I'm like, there's
Yeah,
only
the
been, like, 2
clock
off.
failed. That's why. Why? Oh, there we go. And then I'll go trigger it again. It failed. There you go. There we go, now it's working nice.
There's a minecart just sitting on the track.
Yeah, whatever ones we can't pick up, we can get later. Oh. I don't know what the hell's going on, but something's happening. I'm not upset about it, though.
It's like doubling up on them all.
It doesn't help I have horrible timing.
Ah!
Like, even with the huge rows, I don't think I've gotten more than, like, 2 points.
Ooh.
It doesn't help I'm lagging quite a bit, too. We do all of them? Oh no, I'm lagging. I am lagging bad. That's what's happening.
I'm trying to fix it. I was coming to fix it. It was like 30 minecarts all got inside of each other.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
I filled up my entire inventory full of minecarts. So too many went all at the same time.
Also, I need to really switch this to bows, then. Because crossbow is not it for this.
Or quick charge crossbows.
Bows would just be cheaper. We have bows. I just need to switch it out.
Oh my god, I actually broke one.
Oh, I got another one! Finally!
Am I supposed to be breaking them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well I've only broken like 2, I think.
Same here. I have yet to get a lot.
I'm running back from fixing it.
Oh crap! I got inside of it.
Uh-oh.
I got it. I'll fix it.
Oh, I did actually get quite a few points. Nice.
Oh yeah, God, I'll fix it.
There's none left in this one. Okay, yeah, so we're all done. That's all of them.
There's plenty.
Well, that's all the ones in the dispensers.
I'm not
Oh,
sure where I
okay.
was.
You were right next to me.
Oh,
I'm not sure that I actually got as many carts as are in this barrel, though. That doesn't seem accurate.
oh, I got another one!
Oh.
Oh,
Ow.
I'm so sorry!
You're good. That's
Achievement
from
get.
when I fixed everything. So how about
Okay.
how many do you know you for a fact you shot?
I know for a fact that I at least broke 2. That's all I know.
We'll do 3 to keep it a nice good number.
The hoppers aren't all interconnected, by the way. So I think it'd be fair to, unless you were like breaking them over her track, the hoppers just go in a straight line to the barrels.
No, I tossed a bunch just down
Oh.
because I was just like, so it wasn't that, it was fully
Okay.
just I tossed a bunch down and was just gonna put them in
No.
mine because I know how many for a fact I shot. And I was like putting them in the second one. But apparently I put them in hers, not mine. I'm just running around to make sure they stay moving. Because they'll get stuck in like the corners and stuff. Like down here there's a bunch.
So I need to probably just get rid of corners, or the blocks around corners.
No, just fully limit it. Just limit how many there is because it's all of them bouncing on each other and then getting stuck on the powered rails because they don't want to move.
Yeah. Believe it or not, the clocks are like fully as far as they can go. I just needed to make bigger clocks, apparently. Although
Like,
I'd
there's
like
so
to
many
test
that
it
go
with,
back
if
there.
we keep crossbows, then I would need to make the clocks bigger. I feel like this would be a lot better if it was bows.
Yeah. Please don't shoot. No, I meant me. I was walking in front of y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all can...
Why are these
Yeah,
ones
because
just...
Back here,
There you go.
because back here, there's like 4 of them that will just like bump into each other, and then like one of them will stop, which tends to be the furnace minecart because the furnace minecart
Is a
doesn't-
POS.
No, it doesn't. It does a collision thing, so if it gets bumped, it acts different than normal minecarts. If it gets bumped by a minecart, it stops until it's powered. That's why there's a bunch of backups.
Okay. I probably should have not done furnace minecarts. I had no idea they had different physics.
Yeah, because do you have coal on you?
I've used them that way before. That's how the train system is set up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if that's how they act, because if they get powered, then they'll start moving around, but they won't have like physics. They'll only move in one way.
Okay. So if I make it next season, a lot of revisions. Lots of revisions.
Yeah, probably piercing or multi-shot crossbows, or just do bows.
Yeah. I think bows would just be far infinitely easier.
Yeah. I like crossbows, but like they need so many enchantments to be good for minigames.
Yeah. I think we've got
Sorry,
almost
just
all of them.
Yeah, there's 3 left, and I'm just gonna send them one at a time.
Okay.
I like
Well,
the concept of the game, but I am very, very bad with a crossbow.
I am not. I'm good with a bow, not a crossbow.
If you've ever played, there's this one game. I was thinking there's this one like world game mode thing that you can. Mine is just full of extra ones.
My fucking face. That's so funny. I look
Alright.
like I'm listening to hard rock.
Don't worry about resetting it.
No, I'm just getting rid of my arrows because I had extra arrows from it.
Y'all ready for Mordor? Because honestly, it is also one of my favorites, and it is literally impossible to break unless you actively break the arena. 0 redstone, just a lot of trapdoors and a lot of, or not trapdoors. I always call them trapdoors. A lot of pressure plates and a lot of doors.
I'm gonna wreck it.
And you will want to set your spawn point and put your stuff away. I'll just sleep through the night.
I thought you said that you couldn't die in this one.
You couldn't die in mine shoot.
Oh.
Oh, I see. I hear zombies, so I'm presuming those are
No.
just underneath.
Yeah, they're just underneath. I built over a huge area. So we're just gonna all go down there, and whoever's the last to survive wins.
So.
And once you're down there, you're stuck down there.
Punch each other.
Yep, just punch each other to death, that's it. Welcome to the arena.
Oh god.
Yeah. We found each other.
It's like door PvP.
Yep. Ish.
Door PvP, what is that?
I could show you. I just have to get some wood, and I haven't played.
There we go.
Oh boy.
Oh,
I found a
I'm on
good
the
spot.
easy enough to defend.
Yeah.
Hey!
Hi.
Oh. Up. Come on. Ow. What were you on, half a heart?
No, I'm on a whole heart.
Oh. You got it, Misty! This looks so ridiculous from above. There we go. I'll pour down a water bucket for you.
Okay. I want
So you can get back up and I'll pour back.
I think I was full health down there.
This shouldn't mess up anything. Nope.
No, it won't.
Yeah, come over here and then you should be able to jump up in the water.
Or figure out how to get over here.
There you go. Also, if you're talking, it's not working.
You can
Oh
keep
yeah,
these
no,
heads.
sorry. Forgot to press my
keep the heads.
buttons.
You can keep the head, Misty.
Oh, okay.
Wood.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have any.
Are we gonna play again?
Yep. And this is it for minigames.
Okay.
Unless you want to do the magma pit one, but that's basically the exact same as this, but slightly different.
I think I like the doors.
I
Yeah.
like the doors. Guys, everyone down? I'm the only one down here. Oh, Misty's targeting.
I'm here.
There you go. Whoop. Oh. Aha! Nope. When did you bring down a sword? I saw that.
Well, I didn't.
Okay, my game is lagging out then.
It's all the doors.
Oh. You have so much health still, Misty. This is so laggy. For no. I'm just teleporting around. There we go.
Oh my god!
The more jittery you are, the you can clip through some of these doors. Like this.
No, you just jumped on the door. When it,
Oh, what?
did I? Oh, that's a spot that wasn't covered. I forgot there's a hole in the glass here. There's a spot in the center that I forgot about that I needed to
I don't
cover.
know where it's at.
Yeah, that's the problem.
here.
That's the problem with the glass.
But yeah, the more jittery you are, the better.
There we go.
I'm gonna slip back in.
It's way too easy to escape when you're doing this. Oh, come on. Just playing Ring Around the Rosie. Come on, come on. Get a click. Get a click.
Yeses.
Get a click. Get a click. Come on. I'm not gonna die. There we go. You did have a sword on you.
I never used that.
Oh.
I didn't mean to bring it down. I noticed I had it, and then I was
Come
like,
on. Yay! Okay, yeah. Put me out of my misery. Thank you. Yay! Yeah, I'm definitely gonna find a way to make this better next time. Really early season, or I think this was like a different SMP entirely. I want to do a maze where you had a dog or Ravager chase you the entire time.
Oh, that's
I want to set this up. I want to set this up underneath a trial chamber. And then use the spawners in the trial chamber.
Oh my god.
Because then you could have different levels of the Mordor arena if you have a different potion.
Sadistic.
okay, can someone let me out?
Oh, yeah. Let me grab a water bucket.
He got to the warped one.
There you go.
Sorry.
You're good.
There you go.
There you go. I actually really like that game, though.
Yeah. That and Floor's Lava are definitely my favorites that I've made.
Okay, do you have another set of armor?
I can take you guys to my base and get you some.
Okay, let's do that real quick, because I wanna do something.
Okay.
It's gonna be very thrown together and mozzarella.
Mozzarella.
I'm thinking as I'm talking.
Oh my god, what are those giant fucking statues?
They're armor stands.
No, I see them. I just didn't know how
They're
to
armor
see them.
stands.
They're so
They're-
big. Oh my
Yep,
god.
you
they're
can
so
scale up the
big.
armor stands. Oh,
Oh,
someone
that's
grabbed it.
funny. I didn't know that.
also fun fact, they're named Lahaj and Rahaj.
Oh, that's so cute.
Lahaj.
Lahaj.
Oh, wow.
Lahaj.
Kitty.
Lahaj. It's not Blahaj,
I
it's
don't think you
Lahaj.
showed me this
Oh, yeah.
when you gave me the tour the first time.
No, I made this like 2 days ago.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah, I've wanted to get them in for months.
By just running in here.
Wow.
That's so pretty. That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
What damage did that do?
Did you make that out of,
4
like,
hearts.
slabs and stairs and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh,
I used I made it in creative and then I used a schematic to copy it in here.
That's so cool.
I had like a reference of a side profile of a shark bones in a museum, or like I think it was not a museum shark. It was like an anatomical guide from the side,
Gotcha.
and then I
That's
went from there.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Okay, so it's time to go to your base.
Yep. Oh, you can meet Zanks and Wildvine.
Who?
I got all the achievements, including the dogs, and so I went Actually, since only 2 of us have wings, let's just walk this way. It's the faster way. I went 16,000 blocks and I think 6,000 blocks out for 2 of the dogs because I couldn't find them anywhere. So the one that spawns the Badlands and the one that spawns in the Savannah Plateau, we don't have a big enough one for them to really spawn, so I had to go out pretty damn far to get them. And if any of the animals I had enough trouble getting them, I would fully commit and bring them back. So there's a bunch of animals that are strewn across the server that are mine, but just are sitting at villages and such. Like, there's a few llamas a couple hundred blocks northwest of my base that are technically mine, because I had to make them mine before I bred them, for the breeding achievement. Because there's a achievement to breed a bunch of the animals called 2x2, I think?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, 2x2, which is 25 different animals. Fun fact, pandas have a breeding condition. They have to have bamboo near them.
Yep. Okay, where are y'all at?
Misty,
'Cause I got sidetracked by just...
Let me get back in the nether so you can find the right portal.
Yeah, I don't remember. I got sidetracked.
Yeah, behind you.
Wind Perch
Behind you.
gliding.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I was heading the right way.
Yep.
Yeah, I got sidetracked, started wind charge gliding, actually got it successfully for 3 times, and then just stopped being able to do it properly at all.
It's... middle bottom barrel over here. Middle bottom.
Do you have an auto brewer?
No. Oh yeah, and I also kept one axolotl.
Iron?
Go for
it. Depends. Do you want an advantage or disadvantage?
Oh yeah, I've added another sniffer since you guys have been here. Huh?
Oh.
What? Okay.
I'm just looking through
I
your
haven't
stuff
seen
real
those in either, because those are.
I added another sniffer. So in addition to Carl, I now have Cusco.
So cute. I don't think I met Carl.
And Carl's over here. Hi, oh, this is Cusco. Where did Carl go? Carl's in, of course, Carl's over there.
I didn't realize they were so
Hi, Carl. Big. And their child is on the wall because I am not sitting around waiting for another. Oh yeah, that's tall. He likes his personal space. Their sniffer egg is on the wall because I refused to make another one hatch. I had to wait 40 minutes, or no, it's an hour for the. Yes, but it takes them 40 minutes to grow from a baby to an adult.
Oh man.
I was like, well, this is taking quite a while, and checked the wiki. It's like, that's why.
What do you?
They look with my texture pack. Oh my goodness.
Brewing stand. Do you not have a brewing stand? Oh,
I do.
You have one brewing stand.
Yeah, I don't do brewing. It's just up there. Sugar cane's up here in that top chest. I'm very confused at what you're doing. You making strength pots?
I'm making more than just strength. I'm making 9 of each. So, do you have gunpowder?
It's the chest below.
Yeah, I want to fight the guy in there. I want to fight, you.
No, thank you.
Me?
I do not do PvP.
I am also not very good at PvP.
But I'm in diamond.
And I'm in therapy.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, your dog.
Zanks and Thang, Wild Thang.
So it looks like you have a
Fine, then I want to go fight a warden.
Freaking, what is that?
Oh, I can help you with that. I don't know.
Okay, well, do you have...
With my texture pack, he looks like he's got, like, stripes.
I can help you with the warden thing, yeah. I know a lot of ancient cities. We have a portal outside of one.
And then this one looks like he's, like, freaking calico.
Yeah.
I don't know what a dog
Oh, that's the one that is in the savannah.
It's a shepherd.
And then
It's a,
Zanks is from the Badlands.
Oh, so they're actually different colors for you guys too?
Yeah,
Uh-huh,
that's an in-game thing now.
I thought that
They
this
have
had
different
something to
dog
do with, like,
breeds.
extra pack. I
Nope,
guess that the
it's
dog
yeah.
I guess
They
that
added
there's
9
two
dog
for
breeds and
whatever,
like 12 cats, 11 cats. Let me look.
wow, that's. I mean, I knew about the
11
cats. I didn't know about
cats.
the dogs.
It's the whole pack is the dog achievement, and then a complete catalog is all 11 cat variants.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I actually haven't used this resource pack's dogs for my own, which I think was probably before dog breeds, or maybe I just didn't notice.
I think that resource pack only changes the default dog.
No, it changes the different colors and stuff.
Please do not hurt my
I thought-
sons. Please do not hurt my sons.
Oh, I'm not.
Very specifically, I had a pack that like randomized it into a bunch of like really cute different dog breeds. It was like better dogs and better cats.
Ah, yeah.
So like every dog was random because of like the whole CTM or CMT or whatever it's called.
A set or CIT.
Yeah, that
I just say
randomized
set.
textures. So I didn't actually
let's
know
get
that
you to
the
that
dogs would
warden.
randomize themselves.
I'm looking for water first. I want to make strength pots.
You know you could just twice bonk it with a mace, yeah?
Yes, I still want strength pots.
I got a
don't
water
remember
bucket,
how to
hold
get out
on.
of your house.
Just come. Okay, that'll do. A lake outside.
It's not gonna be pure, but it'll work.
Just realized I made myself a whole kitchen. I didn't put a kitchen sink in it. I made a spot for a sink. I never put a sink there.
No wonder I'm getting antsy. I've been streaming for 3 hours.
Yeah,
That's my
I'm like,
usual
oh,
setup time.
geez, it's been 3 hours. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm
wait,
sticking a
has it
hot
really?
pocket in the microwave at some point here.
What is it that Penguin is planning to do? Is she fighting the warden?
Yeah, I'm not
Wants to. There's a portal I have that goes straight to a cave that goes straight down to an ancient city.
Do you know about how long that would take for us to do?
Shouldn't be too long.
If we both mace hit it, we could actually get away with it.
I'd like to watch and like be a part of that, but I also know that I need to wrap up my stream here soon. So I can get up, stretch my legs, get some food.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just doing this just for fun. If y'all want to go ahead and end y'all stream, y'all can.
I'm probably gonna do that. I need food. It's 2 p.m. I haven't had food since 9 a.m.
Y'all's thing while I prepare y'all, and
I'll end up